of the Agoura Hills City Council. Please silence all cell phones and any other electronic devices that you have with you. And if you wish to speak tonight, please submit a written comment card, which you can get outside, to our city clerk. Madam Clerk, will you raise your hand? That's our city clerk. And for each item, and then when we get to the public comment portion of the item, you'll be called up. So I'm going to call this meeting to order. And I'm going to start with our land acknowledgement. The City of Agoura Hills acknowledges that we occupy land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Chumash Nation. Descendants of Chumash still remain, and we honor and pay our respects to their elders and various groups that make up the past, present, and emerging as they continue their stewardship of our lands and waters. We have a responsibility and commitment to elevate the stories, culture, and community of the original inhabitants of the City of Agoura Hills, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these ancestral lands. I am now going to defer to Councilmember Anstead. Will you lead us in the flag salute? Thank you. And I'll now defer to the city clerk for a roll call vote.
Good evening. Councilmember Anstead.
Here.
Councilmember Klein-Lopez.
Here.
Councilmember Wolf.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester.
Here.
Mayor Buckley-Weber.
Here.
Mayor Buckley-Weber, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. There was no closed session tonight, so there's nothing to report. And I'm open to, and I see that that you're here tonight. We have a long hearing, as you can see. We have a packed room, and if you'd like us to amend the agenda so that you can go before item number 11, it's really up to you. But we want to give you that opportunity, since what you're asking for is a continuance of the hearing, of your hearing. So why don't you come up and speak to me so that the record's clear?
Yes, we would like to continue the matter due to the fact that the heavy schedule for tonight. Just wanted to bring to your attention,
Well, hang on a second. All we want to know is whether or not you want to be heard tonight on the substance, or if you would prefer, we would move your item up. Okay. So that you don't need to sit through the hearing that's going to take place tonight. If you want to wait, you can wait.
We'll go ahead and take it immediately.
Have it moved up.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds great. So when we go to, I'm going to ask that whoever makes the motion to approve tonight's agenda, that we amend it so that number 11 will be moved up prior to number 10 on the agenda, and we'll go from there. So if I can get a motion to approve tonight's amended agenda.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester so moves.
City Councilman Chris Anstead, second.
Thank you very much. Okay, we will now then move on, and let's have I'll defer to the city clerk for a roll call vote on that.
Councilmember Anstead.
Aye.
Councilmember Klein-Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester.
Aye.
Mayor Buckley-Weber.
Aye.
Mayor Buckley-Weber, you have approval 5-0.
Thank you. We're now moving on to presentations. Okay, there we go. So tonight, this evening, the city is recognizing as the July Business of the Month, a business that's been in Agoura Hills for decades. It's one of the original hardware home centers in Southern California, the DIY Home Center. I'd like to ask the store manager, Michelle Borowski, if I'm saying that correctly, come on up and join me up here. And I'm going to give you a very interesting history, everybody, of the DIY Center. I'm sure you've all been there if you live or work in Agoura Hills. Based in Chatsworth, California, DIY Home Center is a privately owned company that, with its affiliate companies, currently employs over 600 people. The company was founded in 1948 by Robert M. Neiman and Robert L. Reed. Neiman Reed Lumber and Supply began as an idea between two U.S. Marine officers who met while serving during World War II. Starting as a wholesale lumber yard, Neiman Reed Lumber and Supply quickly became a do-it-yourself supplier. Responding to the requests of their customers, they started opening the lumber yard to cash and carry retail customers on weekends and began adding paint, hardware, and various building materials to their product offering. By 1963, the home center portion of the company had become such a large portion of the business that they created Neiman Reed Lumber City, adding garden, plumbing, and electrical items, making it one of the first true home centers. By the late 60s, early 70s, more locations were added in Chatsworth, Mission Hills, Burbank, Tujunga, and Agoura Hills and Thousand Oaks. They were honored to help spruce up the Hollywood sign for the 1984 Olympics. In 1986, the company was sold to its current owner, the Ruff family. With dramatic changes in the home center industry, Mr. Ruff repositioned the company by joining a national buying co-op and rebranding the stores as California Do-It Centers. In the early 2000s, as the home center industry continued to evolve and to ensure that customers had access to the highest quality of products in the industry, the Ruff family separated from the buying co-op, and the DIY Home Center was the result. DIY Home Center has been an integral part of the city of Agoura Hills. Over the decades, it has been supportive of community activities, hosting the Santa Claus Comes to Agoura food drive. They've donated supplies for Clean Up the Creek, and this summer, DIY is the Summer Concerts in the Park Platinum and title sponsor. Without their sponsorship, we could not provide these events to our community. Ms. Borowski, I want to present you, am I pronouncing that? Thank you. I want to present you with this certificate and see if you'd like to say a few words.
I see a lot of familiar faces. Oh, goodness. I'm like being put on the spot. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. This is quite an honor. I work with a lot of amazing people, including my corporate office and staffing. It's a pleasure to serve this community. I grew up here and will continue to do so. I hope to see you all in the store.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Oh, you want another picture? Let me come down a step. Okay. Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here. Okay, we will now move on to Intergovernmental Special Purpose Committee and Departmental Reports. We have a report from the Agoura Hills Quarterly Update, and I'll defer to our Agoura Library Manager, Nina Hull. Welcome, Nina.
For this, is that better? Okay. So, Madam Mayor, City Manager, where's Mr. Hamburger? Where'd he go? City Council members and city staff, thank you for having me tonight for the quarterly report. So, but before I go into it, do we have the picture? It's going to be up. I did want to mention, that we were a cooling center this week, and we're very happy we were a cooling center. You had quite a few people that come in during our library hours and otherwise in the heat. And we've also had a lot of requests for COVID kits, which we've gotten more. Your community is asking a lot for COVID kits right now. But this is what's important tonight, this is the Annenberg Wildlife Crossing. So in my library, if you look at that picture, if you've been when you first walk in the library, this room is right to your right. It's called the fireplace room. And to the left of that picture is the fireplace itself. So that design actually takes up about a third of the library. So it is going to have an installation on Friday in the morning at the library. This is an interactive program, so you see the tower at the side that has about 90 videos in it that you come over and can go through it. So we did have rangers at the library this week who came in. I think that was the final thing to say it's okay. So they did go through a lot of the videos, and it is, they gave it the gift, and so that's like I'm saying, the installation. P22 is the placard that's in front. So my little story is this. In my library, children come in, and when they walk out, all of a sudden they see this display. So they go over there, and they're playing around, dancing on the stage. But the other night, a 4-year-old little boy, as he walked out and he was leaving the library, he said, "Good night, kitty." So, so it makes us also worthwhile. But our portion of the Annenberg Wildlife Crossing was the no-cost MOU. So for that, we are very grateful because it was the County of Los Angeles with the National Wildlife Federation. And I am extremely grateful to your staffs, Luciela and JT, my boss, Regional Administrator Gladstone Buckner, and Lauren Gill, who is in charge of National Wildlife. This is a beautiful display. So if you have a chance to come over and see it, you can come over anytime, but like tomorrow, it's especially special now. So with that, I'll let you know about the programs. This month, because it is Summer Discovery, we have 36 programs in the library, very much directed at children. Normally we have about 28 to 29, but we've boosted up right now. So we continue with our book clubs, and I tell you about that every quarter, so you know we have a lot of book clubs, and we've added one for little elementary school, younger than elementary. The very beginning, the preschoolers, there's actually a book club for them this year. So the Music for Babies program that I mentioned to you has gone very well. So that seems to be having about 30 people with the babies and the moms or dads or caretakers that come, and we're having that bi-monthly. So that is going very well. And we did something called Creative Plate for children. It's a cooking program. So that also was well attended. So we're going to have it back in September because of Harvest Moon Festival. So they will be cooking an Asian dish. And for adults, we will be having in the month of September as well, Harvest Moon Festival, a mooncake program where they'll be making mooncakes. Now, how they're going to do it in that room, I don't know, but that sounds exciting. Then we're going on, also glass fusing is a very popular program. This month at the end on the 27th is the One City, One Book, which 17 library counties went together, and we did it. We are doing the LA Weather by Maria Alparo Escandon. That is actually downtown on the 27th of July, and some libraries like Lancaster are having buses transport people down there. Agoura is not. So, but I will be having a book club myself at our library tomorrow at 2 o'clock. The author will not be there, just me. So Heritage Months, like we always talk about, we have our Muslim Heritage display set up in the children's area already, and with Hispanic Heritage Month coming September 15th to October 15th, we will make a lot of our programs themed around that Heritage Month. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, and we're looking forward to the opening of the P22 Wallace-Annenberg Wildlife Crossing exhibit. It's really exciting.
Totally excited. So.
That's great. Thank you for all the hard work. I know that this has been in the works for a couple of years.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Could
you,
I ask
Nina.
just one quick question?
Sure. Wait, Nina. Nina.
Before you
Come back
leave.
up for a second. We have
Sorry.
a question. This
Not
is our
getting away that
librarian.
quick. Nina, I just was, how long will the exhibit be up?
The no-cost MOU goes for a year, and then we renew it. So we're planning on having it permanently, to be honest with you.
Thank you very much.
And that will also be upgraded. So if they want to add new things there, the National Wildlife Foundation will do that. So,
So as we progress with the bridge, they can.
right, exactly. All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Can I?
Any other questions?
No.
Great, thank you very much. So now we are going to move on. Are there any reports from staff? Not seeing any. Are there any reports from the City Council? Okay, then we can move on to public comments. This section is reserved for persons wishing to speak on items not listed on the agenda that are under the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. If you have something to distribute to the City Council, please do not approach the dais. Hand your item to the City Clerk, and she will distribute to us on your behalf. Public testimony is limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and a speaker's time may not be transferred to another speaker. Persons addressing the City Council shall not engage in disorderly conduct that disrupts or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting. I will now defer to the City Clerk. Again, this is for matters not on the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor Buckley Weber. No written public comments have been received and no speaker cards have been submitted.
Thank you very much. So we will now move on to the council consent calendar. This section is reserved for persons wishing to speak on items on the consent calendar. I will now defer to the City Clerk.
Thank you. No written public comments have been received and no speaker cards have been submitted.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the City Council on the consent calendar? Does anybody want to pull anything off of the consent calendar? Okay, then I will now call for a motion and a second to adopt the consent calendar.
This is Deborah Klein Lopez. I'll make a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
Councilmember Wolf, I'll second.
Thank you. Will the maker, so I'll defer to the City Clerk for a roll call vote.
Councilmember Anstead?
Aye.
Councilmember Klein Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester?
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber?
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber, you have approval 5-0.
Thank you. We are now moving on to item number, we've taken them out of order as we discussed, so we're now going to move on to item number 11, which is a request for continuation of a public hearing. I'll now defer to Community Development Director Denise Thomas for the staff presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. My name's Denise Thomas. I'm the Community Development Director here in the city of Agoura Hills. The item that you introduced is a request to consider revocation of a business license due to violations of our noise ordinance. Staff received direction from you at the last meeting, and we are requesting additional time so that we can work with the applicant to perhaps bring them closer or into compliance. And that's pretty much all I wanted to ask. I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Does any council member have any questions of Ms. Thomas? Okay, seeing none. As the item before us is a request for continuance, we respectfully request that all public testimony be withheld until the public hearing on September 11th, 2024. Besides the owner of the company, is anybody here to testify? Okay, great. So we will then take all of the testimony and continue this hearing. That's the proposal to September 11th of 2024. I'll now call for a motion and a second to approve that continuance to September 11th.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester so moves.
City Councilman Chris Anstead seconds.
Thank you very much, and I'll defer to the City Clerk for a roll call vote.
Councilmember Anstead?
Aye.
Councilmember Klein Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester?
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber?
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber, you have approval 5-0.
Thank you very much. We are now going back to item number 10. It is a continued de novo public hearing / appeal. And before we move on to our next item, I'll defer to Councilmember Anstead.
Thank you very much. I need to make a statement, and then I'll excuse myself. I received a contribution for my political campaign in the past 12 months from one of the owners of the applicant in the next proceeding that amounted to over $250. As such, I will be recusing myself from this item based on California law. And thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Anstead. And we will let you know when we are ready for you to come back in. Our next item was continued from May 22nd, 2024, and is a de novo public hearing to consider an appeal of the Planning Commission's denial of a conditional use permit and request for a Type 47 alcohol license to allow the sale of distilled spirits, wine, and beer. I will now open the public hearing, and I'll defer to our City Attorney, Candace Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. I thought it'd be helpful to provide a summary of the framework of the proceedings this evening to assist both the Council and the members of the public, as well as the applicant, give them an idea of what to expect this evening. First, the City Council will be holding a continued de novo public hearing on CUP-2023-0026. In the City of Agoura Hills, all appeals of Planning Commission decisions are heard de novo at the City Council level. A de novo land use hearing is a completely new hearing where the City Council takes a fresh look at the project and is not limited to the issues raised in the appeal application. This allows the council to look at all components of the project and make a decision on the project as a whole. The council does not need to give particular weight or deference to what the Planning Commission decided. Now, you can consider what the Planning Commission decided, certainly, but the City Council is not bound to follow the Planning Commission's decision. Next, I'd like to summarize the order of the proceedings for the hearing this evening. So first, the mayor has opened the public hearing already, thank you. Next, we will be having the staff report, and then City Council disclosure of ex parte communications. As this is a quasi-judicial matter, if council members have received relevant information about this matter outside the public hearing, they should publicly announce this information obtained before testimony begins. Next, we will have City Council questions of staff. At this time, the council should avoid commenting on the project or deliberating. Please just stick to questions of staff. Next, we will move to the applicant/appellant's presentation. They will have 15 minutes, and then the council will have opportunity to ask the appellant questions. Then we will move to public comment portion of the presentation of the public hearing. Each public speaker will have 3 minutes, and the council may also ask the public questions as necessary. Then we will move to applicant's rebuttal, and they will get 5 minutes for rebuttal. Then we will have last call for council questions, and the council should conclude their questions prior to the close of the public hearing. Then the mayor will close the public hearing, and then we will have council discussion and deliberation. And during deliberation, it would be appropriate for the council to explain why they can or cannot make findings required for the approval of the project so that staff can prepare the appropriate resolution of approval or denial based on council's direction. And that concludes my summary. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to disclosures. So, no, we're going to be, I'm sorry, we're going to now defer to the Community Development Director, Denise Thomas, for the staff presentation.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, City Council members. My name is Denise Thomas. I'm the Community Development Director here in the City of Agoura Hills. This evening, we're going to bring you the staff presentation for the de novo item that the City Attorney has just briefed you on. Robbie Nesevic, our Principal Planner, will be providing you the staff report, and will both be available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise, and good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. As was already said, we're going to be presenting a Cronies alcohol CUP application request to you. Tonight I'll be going over the background, the project description, and the recommendation. So on June 5th, 2014, the Planning Commission approved CUP 14-CUP002 to allow a Type 41 alcoholic beverages license and approved their hours of operation, which are currently Sunday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. and 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. At the end of 2023, the applicant submitted an application to modify their hours of operation and also to request a Type 47 alcoholic beverages license. And on April 4th, 2024, the Planning Commission denied CUP 2023-0026 for the extended hours of operation and the Type 47 alcoholic beverages license. 2 weeks later, on April 18th, 2024, the Planning Commission Resolution number 24-1290 was adopted to deny the CUP. Then on May 3rd, 2024, the applicant filed an appeal application and has since rescinded the request for extended hours. So the revised project description is simply for a Type 47 alcohol license when they currently have a Type 41. So for those that aren't familiar with the site, this is an aerial. You can see that the project is at the corner of Thousand Oaks Boulevard and Canaan Road. The Cronies restaurant is at the northwest corner. Right to the west of the project is a residential neighborhood that is separated by a drainage channel. Along with the other businesses in the shopping center, there's a supermarket, a drugstore, retail stores, general and medical offices, a massage establishment, and other restaurants. This is the project's floor plan, which is staying the same. They're not modifying anything, but just for those of you that aren't aware. This is the project description. So as I previously said, they're just upgrading or requesting to upgrade their license to a Type 47 alcoholic beverages license. The main difference between a Type 47 and a Type 41 is distilled spirits. So they currently sell beer and wine, and the only difference is that now they're selling distilled spirits, or would be selling distilled spirits in addition. It's also worth noting that a Type 47 license must also serve food along with the beverages, and that's a considerable portion of their sales. So with that, that's the whole project description, and staff recommends the City Council consider the appeal of Planning Commission's denial of CUP 2023-0026, taking into consideration all documents constituting the record and any public testimony, and direct staff to draft a resolution affirming, reversing, or modifying the decision made by the Planning Commission based on the findings made by the City Council following the public hearing. Staff only requests that if you do decide to affirm the Planning Commission's decision, that you point to the specific findings that you are not able to make so that it can assist staff in drafting the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now we're going to start with, do any council members have any ex parte communications to disclose? Mayor Pro Tem, let's start with you.
Well, I met with city staff to just go over some of the information in the packet. And that's it. I mean, I know where Cronies is. I drive by it every day, so I'm aware of it, but I haven't met with anybody from Cronies or discussed anything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Klein Lopez.
Same as our Mayor Pro Tem, just a few meetings with staff.
Thank you. Councilmember Wolf.
Yes, on June 8th, I had a very brief conversation. On July 8th at 12 o'clock, I spoke with Matt Guthrie, who told me he was helping with the appeal, and he had first reached out to me on email. He reached out to see if I had any questions, didn't have any questions. We discussed hours, spoke for about 5 minutes, and that was the duration of the call.
Thank you. My disclosures are, besides I watched the April 2024 Planning Commission meeting, as well as the June 2014 Planning Commission meeting, I too received an email from Matt Guthrie on behalf of Cronies, and I apologize if he's here. I responded, there was a lot going on when I heard from him a couple of weeks ago, and I said, sorry, Matt. And I said, oh, I know nothing about it. I haven't watched the Planning Commission meeting, and this was through email, and I haven't gotten a staff report or anything, so let me get back to you. And this morning I said, wait a minute, who is that guy that contacted me? So I apologize again. We never have really communicated other than I sent him an email today and said, so sorry, I just found your email again, and obviously we're unable to meet. So it was never about the substance, but Matt and I did communicate by email.
Sorry, and I omitted to say that I did watch the Planning Commission meetings.
Great.
And I did as well.
Thank you. And I've met with staff and a couple of questions before tonight. So those are my disclosures. So now that we've done that, we are now going to move. Does any council member have any questions of staff about this project? Anybody? Nobody. Okay, I have a couple then. Let me grab my notes. I thought I had a little more time. Okay.
We're not hearing from the applicant first?
No,
okay.
First, these are just questions of staff.
Okay.
Okay, so let me go to mine. There's been some talking in some of the letters about another restaurant in the center called Latigo Kid that has a Type 47 alcohol license. And from your chart, or what's in the staff report, there was a photograph of all the different bars and restaurants in the area that have a Type 41, but the Type 47 was solely Latigo Kid. And I was hoping that you can just explain how Latigo Kid got their Type 47.
So
alcohol license?
Latigo Kid was permitted prior to the city's regulations that require a conditional use permit. So they got a license from the state and a business license from the city prior to our CUP regulations. So they're what we call legal nonconforming.
And do you know whether or not Latigo Kid transferred their alcohol license from their prior restaurant and bar, which was north of the 101, over by what now is called the Whizon Marketplace?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Can you just, I saw from the photographs, but what is the type of fence that's at the edge of the flood control channel? Would you call that, it's not wrought iron, it's just metal. Is that a chain link fence?
Yes.
Chain link fence, okay. Do you know how high it is?
Not off the top of my head. If I had to guess, 6 feet or less.
Thank you. I think that's all the questions I have for staff right now. So now we will move on to, and there's no other questions, correct? Okay, so let's move on. The public hearing's open, and I'll now defer to the applicant. You and/or your representatives will have a total of 15 minutes for your presentation. Please adjust the microphone and watch for the red light on the podium. When you see the yellow light, you'll have 1 minute to wrap up your comments. Welcome.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, my name is Stephen Jameson, and I'm an attorney with Solomon, Saltzman, and Jameson, and I'm pleased to be here tonight to represent Cronies before you. I was not present at the Planning Commission meeting, but like some of you have mentioned, I also watched the hearing. As was indicated by the city attorney, this is a de novo hearing, and we're prepared to provide evidence to you that we think will be sufficient and more than adequate to allow you to vote in favor of this application. Along those lines, we did listen to the Planning Commission. We did listen to what the questions were. We did listen to what their inquiries were. And based on that, we did go out into the community and we did search for input from the various people that live around there, that work around there, that have businesses around there. And what we provided to you in the record, and I hope that you have it, because if you don't, I have more copies for you, hard copies. There's about 50 letters and emails, most of whom are from, or most of which are from the City of Agoura Hills residents and people that work here. There's about 8 or 9, I think, that are people that come into the city but don't actually live here. And I wanted to point that out because I know that's important to you as well. There were 4 letters or emails that I think I've seen in your record of opposition. And with regard to those, I wanted to indicate that 2 of them appear to be from the same household, and the other 2 also appear to be from the same household. That doesn't mean it's not important. It just means that it's actually one group, if you will. Of the 50 or so in support, we have a good number of people here tonight that have been kind enough to provide their time to come here before you to provide some testimony. That being said, it's not our intent to overload or overwhelm or have repetitive testimony. We've talked about that before we came in. So to the extent that we can, everybody's going to try and have something different to say and some input that's different for you. If I could, just at the moment, there are a great many people in the audience. If I could have everybody just stand up if you're in support of this application for Cronies. Thank you very much. Now, for the record, I haven't counted them, but it's most of your chambers here, and you can see that there's a great number of people in support. Now, the letters that we provided, and that again I have, if you'd like to look at it, I know it's in your staff packet, include the school next door, the Kumon School, which is immediately next door to Cronies. That was a concern that was expressed by people in the Planning Commission, so we went out and talked to Kumon. Kumon closes their operations early in the evening. They're not there late in the evening. And there's a letter there that shows you that they are in support. Various people for Cronies went out into the neighborhood, talked with some of the residents on the other side of that ravine. And on the other side of the ravine, there are those homes that are there. And I am of the understanding, I don't know if they're here tonight, I don't think we have a letter, that they're also in support. The other businesses in the location are in support, and there's letters that are provided to you for that. Now, I'd like to help define what the parameters are of really from our perspective, and I'm sure the city attorney has provided that information to you and can answer any other questions you have. But from our perspective, and as counsel to cronies, we do a lot of land use work. We do a lot of ABC work. We're probably one of the 3 or 4 firms in the state of California that do most of that type of work, so I'm pretty familiar with it. And here, it's important to realize that the Type 47 ABC license that we're talking about is a license that's issued by the state. The state ABC, by virtue of the state constitution, Article 20, Section 22, says that the state ABC has the sole and exclusive ability to regulate alcohol, to allow for sales and consumption of alcohol. The state issues a Type 47, the state issues a Type 41. What the state law also provides, and what your municipal code provides, as I'm sure you're aware, is you have the ability to decide tonight on land use elements, land use factors, not whether you like distilled spirits, not whether you like beer and wine, not whether you think that the alcohol is the issue here, because that issue is reserved to the ABC. What you do get to decide, and what you do have to focus on, if I may, are these land use elements. And the staff report that was provided to the Planning Commission, in which the staff, your planning staff, recommended approval of this application for the CUP to allow for a Type 47 license, went through each of your land use elements in your municipal code. And for each of those elements, each of those required findings that you're also required to decide tonight, your professional planning staff made inquiries of other staff, of other departments, and recommended approval, and they laid out how it is that each of those land use elements are satisfied. And I'm here tonight to also tell you that each of those land use elements, if we focus just on that, which is really what the City Council is imbued to do under the municipal code, the only reasonable answer, the only reasonable conclusion is that this location, this cronies, is really entitled to this CUP, which is really kind of an amendment, if you will, a revision to a CUP that's been in operation for the last 10 years. They're entitled to that. And the reason for that is that when you look down at the factors, and in the staff report for this body, which is dated for July 10th, came out a few days ago in your packet, it goes through each one of these elements under your municipal code 9673.2.E. And each one of these elements are also the elements that were found 10 years ago to be satisfied when Cronies first started its business. And at that time, decided to get a Type 41 beer and wine. Now, I wasn't around at that time with them. I haven't actually talked to them about why it is they did a 41 at that time instead of a 47. But I can tell you just from my experience that a Type 41 beer and wine license is much less expensive than a Type 47. A Type 47 is very expensive compared to a Type 41. And there's reasons for that in the market and things, but perhaps that's the reason. But the point is that there's really been no change in the operation since 2014, and we're now in June of 2024. When staff inquired of your sheriff's department, that, as you know, provides your police services, the sheriff's department responded, as I'm told by the staff report, responded that there are no problems, there are no concerns. Sheriff's department didn't have any concerns about this application. When planning staff went out and talked to the other departments, there were no adverse responses. Therefore, there were no reasons for staff to recommend denial. And we've now gone out, as I indicated, to make sure that the surrounding community, the things that were identified, at least in the Planning Commission hearing, as being important, actually took place. And we took the time between then and now to do that. That's why you see all these people here. That's why Matt Guthrie attempted to reach out to each one of you to try and let you know what we were doing. And the 50 letters and emails that have been provided to you show that this is a strong, good, competent, reliable, responsible retailer of alcoholic beverages. They've proven it in this city. They've proven it. They don't have any ABC suspensions, certainly no revocations. They've got no issues with that. They have several other locations in the area in other cities. They also have no ABC violations there. There's simply no evidence of any issues there. Cronies in this location for the city of Agoura Hills has great support in this community by families, by coaches from local schools, by parents that bring their children to this restaurant. Yes, it's called Cronies Sports Grill. I always get that wrong. Sports Grill, all right? Okay. But this is a restaurant. This, just like a Type 47 has to have food, Type 41 has to have food. They have an extensive kitchen, an extensive menu. I was there for the last couple of hours getting ready to come before you and looking at my notes, and what I realized, and as I'm looking around, is that you had people that are pillars of your community, the coaches, teachers, people that apparently routinely go into Cronies. And who else was there but children? There were children that were there, a lot of them. And they were getting food, they were eating, they were playing their games, they were doing their things. It's a good family atmosphere. Their staff is also trained, as they're required to be trained by state law, under what's called the Responsible Beverage Training. It's RBS training. Every one of them is trained and certified. All of their management is trained and certified. In short, the only difference, if this body deems it appropriate to allow the CUP to also include a Type 47 ABC license, should the ABC, the state ABC, deem it appropriate to grant that ABC license, the only difference is the distilled spirits. So why do they want to add distilled spirits? What are they going to do with that? I thought I turned it off. I heard you. I apologize. If it matters, it was one of my kids. In any case, the responsible beverage, if he calls me again, I'm going to have to strangle him. The responsible beverage service is they know what to do and how to serve. The only difference is this distilled spirits. And the reason for that is that they've had a request, many requests, to be able to get with their food a margarita or a gin and tonic or other things that we all, if we like alcohol and we're okay with alcohol, that we all periodically imbibe. With their meals. Somebody mentioned the Latigo Kid in the same center across on the other side. They have a Type 47. They allow mixed drinks. Sometimes Cronies loses customers, same customers that are pretty loyal. They go over to Latigo because they can get a margarita or they can get a mixed drink. Cronies is not a bar. Cronies doesn't have a fixed bar in a separate room. Cronies is a restaurant. Cronies has a kitchen. Cronies knows how to and has proven to you that it is able to provide these sales and allow for this consumption. The land use elements, and I will spare you going through every one of these elements, but I will actually show you that I've circled them and I've looked at each one, and for what it's worth, and clearly I'm an advocate and I get that, but every one of these elements, just like the staff report for the Planning Commission said, they went through and each one of these land use elements is satisfied. Every one of them. And there's nothing about these land use elements that's changing. One of the other concerns that was brought up at the Planning Commission was the hours. Cronies initially was requesting later hours, and I think earlier hours, actually, to provide breakfast. We've rescinded that. We don't want that to be an issue. It's not worth it to Cronies. They want to be compliant with the community, and if that's a concern, so be it. They've operated responsibly and well and without causing any problem for 10 years. There's absolutely no reason to believe that it's going to be any different now. So we'd urge you to take a look at the letters of support, the emails of support. We actually have here a retired chief of police from a nearby town, Ventura, who's also familiar with cronies because he has one in his city and other places, and he can provide a law enforcement perspective. There's other people here that also have law enforcement perspective, all of which find that cronies is responsible retailer. So what we'd ask you to do is recognize that the ABC, the state ABC, is also a law enforcement agency. At the end of the day, the ABC as a law enforcement agency doesn't just willy-nilly issue a 47. They go through an investigation. They make sure that not only this cronies, but the other cronies that are related don't cause problems in the community. They make sure that they've been trained, they make sure that they comply with the alcohol beverage control law, and they found that they did that. And I checked with the ABC just today to make sure that they've completed their investigation, and did they find anything? And I will represent to you that I've talked to the ABC, they've indicated they have no issues with it, and they are ready, willing and able, and find it appropriate to issue that type 47, so long as these land use elements are found to exist, which they should be, respectfully, and therefore that CUP, that zoning aspect, the land use element is put in place. Once that happens, the ABC's completed its law enforcement duties. And they all carry badges, they carry firearms, they take their job seriously, and so you've got several different levels of inquiry here in addition to what we're talking about. And with that, I would ask if you have any questions. I also have Mr. Folds and some others that would like to speak. And we appreciate your attention, and thank you for clearing some of the room so that we had a little bit more time, recognizing we've got a lot of people. But as I said, I do understand that you don't want to hear repetitive testimony. We have talked about that. To the extent that that happens, I apologize in advance, but we'll try not to do that. Okay? So if you have any questions, please.
Thank you very much. Before we ask questions, I only have like 35 to 39 letters. If you have 50, I may not have them all. As long as you've already printed them, if you could hand them to our city clerk, then she can, disperse them to the rest of the council.
Absolutely. I can tell you I have 3 copies, which I'll hand to the city clerk. There are 48 here, and I say 50 because I understand there were 2 that came in just this afternoon, and so we didn't get a chance to print them out, but they should be available to you for the record, so it's 50.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
I can confirm that we got 2 later this afternoon.
And also, if I may, I refrained from going through each one of the letters because I'm sure that you can do that, and I'm sure that you have done that, and you can see that, that people took their time to not just sign something that said we're in favor, but to actually think about it, and they wanted to relate to their concerns, their issues, and their support for cronies. So I would urge you to take a look at each one of those individually.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do any council members have questions of our speaker? I assume that Mr. Folds will be speaking at some point? No? Okay. Well, okay, well then.
He's got me to do it.
I don't know if you can answer the questions that I would have for Mr. Folds, so I will.
May I try?
Yes, okay, so you said that Mr. Folds has never had any problems with the ABC?
Correct.
And I'm glad you brought that up. No problems, not even like threatened suspension of his alcohol license at Cronies?
Threatened suspension is not what I consider problems. Okay. The ABC, as I said, is a law enforcement agency. They have broad investigatory powers. I represent people all the time defending them against threatened suspensions and revocations, and that's what we look at, and that's what I understand. It's completely clean, and I did check with the ABC to see if I was missing something, so I'm not aware of any.
But he was threatened with action by the ABC, but that never happened.
I'm not sure what threatened would mean. I can find out more, but threat, again, we represent a lot of people all over the state. If the ABC has a serious threat, I can just tell you, for what it's worth as an advocate from personal experience, it's either going to be something where they have a signature by the licensee saying, you understand that if you do this again, whatever this is, that there's going to be disciplinary action, which happens sometimes, or within a year or 2 years, statute of limitations, there's what's called an accusation that's issued. So if there is anything, They issue an accusation, and then it comes before an administrative law judge, and it's determined as a matter of judicial certainty, also subject to appeal. They have not had any of that. So I would say that there's nothing, certainly that the ABC considers substantial. And I'm not aware of any threats.
Okay, thank you for that. So just so I'm clear, you testified and that the ABC has not issued the Type 47 license yet?
No, the way that that's correct. And the reason is that the way that the ABC works is that there's an application that's filed. In this case, it was filed. There's a notice of intention to sell that went up on their building, and that stayed up for 30 days. There was a notice that was sent to the city. In general, there is. There should have been here. I'd be surprised if there wasn't. It's required. So there's a notice that's sent to the city. There's a notice that's sent to the sheriff's department as the law enforcement agency. And then the surrounding 500 feet, there's also a notice that's sent. They got no protests. So the way the ABC law works is that once that notice goes up and those notices are sent out to law enforcement, to the city, to the surrounding residents, everybody has 30 days to submit a protest. And that protest then gets logged with the ABC. The ABC does some minor investigation to make sure it's real. Once they do that, they consider it to be validated. Once they do that, then it's set for a hearing before an administrative law judge. And then an administrative law judge makes a decision, and the ABC, as kind of like your staff here, makes a recommendation to the administrative law judge. So to complete the answer, I guess, so that none of that occurred because there were no protests. All of these people, law enforcement, city, residents, all these people, had an opportunity and were given notice probably 8 or 10 months ago or a year ago that they could do that. Nobody submitted protests. So the ABC, notwithstanding that there were no protests, there were no challenges, no oppositions, notwithstanding that, they complete their investigation. They look to make sure that the ownership has no felonies. They look to make sure that there's no problems at any of the other locations. They look to make sure there's nothing that's illegal going on. They look to make sure that there's no organized crime. They look to make sure that there's no basis to consider that the licensee is not fit to hold a license.
Okay.
And then they decide.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but we have a pretty packed room. So let me just ask you the question again.
Yep.
So there was no protests, you said, and so where are we in that process? They have not actually issued it, or they have issued it already?
They've completed their investigation, and they've notified us that they are ready to issue it as soon as they hear that the CUP is in place, because the underlying zoning has to be taken care of. So it's ready to go. All of what I described, sorry for the long description, all that's done. They're ready to do it.
And so they're ready to hear from us?
And they're waiting to hear that the land use elements have been taken care of.
Okay, great, thank you. Have you, I'm sure you've read the packet. This feels funny because you're not under oath, but that's okay. No, that's fine. But you read the package, you read that the resolution from 2014, and there were some special conditions of approval?
I did.
Familiar with all that, right? There's special.
I did.
Yeah, okay. And so you see that the Planning Commission in 2014, when they issued the permit that and the CUP, that they specifically stated that if the location was going to switch from a Type 41 to a different kind of beverage license, they'd have to come back for another CUP.
I do understand that is the city's position. I respectfully disagree that that's the legal conclusion that's correct.
Okay.
And I think I've explained that in the letter that I submitted, but yes, I did see it.
But it is a special condition.
I think so.
I can tell you it is.
Okay. Which number was that, if I may?
It's 14, yes.
It does say that.
Okay.
And I was aware of that city position.
The only other thing I had was that when I'm looking, because of special conditions, this isn't really relevant to the alcohol, but in compliance with special conditions, I did notice that, and watching the Planning Commission meeting, that a couple of the commissioners in 2014 commented on the special condition that we have about there would be, I'm trying to find it now, I'm sorry, about landscaping in front of the, and by the way, Mr. Folds, I got to tell you haven't aged a day from 2014. After watching all of them, I was like, so congratulations on that. That was pretty amazing. You look exactly the same. But there was, they had an issue about the landscaping. They wanted you to landscape along the fence, and that's what you agreed to do, and that's a condition of approval. That's not been done, and I just hope that you will. It's not relevant for tonight, but I hope that you will comply and go ahead and put those planters in. You don't need to speak. You didn't want to. So we'll just. I'm just speaking to your attorney right now. So the other questions that I had. That I learned from the Planning Commission. And, you testified at the 2014 Planning Commission that you put cameras on the outdoor patio in case there would be some sort of violent disruption. And I was just wondering, can you answer for me whether or not those cameras are put up and that they're in working order?
If I can just have a moment, please.
Okay.
Keep that up just in case. Thank you for that question. I've conferred with my client. They did put up, and they do have up now, operating surveillance cameras. And when I asked, thank you, and when I asked them about it, and I can show, and for the record, I'll indicate, I've been handed Mr. Fold's camera, which is his phone, and you can see that there are people on the patio right now, just from here, for the patio area, and somebody walking through there.
And the follow-up question to Mr. Folds would be, and whether or not you know or can confirm that whether or not there's ever been an occasion when Mr. Folds, something has occurred on the patio that Mr. Folds has seen on his phone that he has need to take some action.
If I may I have a moment?
Yes.
Not that we're aware of. I understand that there may have been somebody who may have been rough sleeping, perhaps, that may have walked into the patio, something like that. But we're not even sure that occurred. So certainly nothing of any consequence or any concern.
Okay. I don't have any other, another question. Do you know whether or not Cronies has a last call?
If I may.
Mr. Folds, it would be sure easier if you came up and testified.
The answer is yes.
There is a last call, and
there's
what
a
time
last
is
call, and people leave. And I'm being told, and I'm relaying to the council, people leave a lot earlier than they're allowed to stay open. Now, keep in mind, under the ABC license, they can have alcohol till 2 o'clock in the morning. They obviously cannot do that because this CUP says 11 o'clock or 12:30, depending on what it is. So they make sure that people are done, gone, and out according to the hours for the CUP.
Which is just, and I just want to confirm that the present hours of operation, which alcohol, beer and wine is sold at, and then if we approve the Type 47, distilled spirits would be served from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and 8 a.m. to 12:30 a.m. Friday and Saturday. That's right.
That is correct.
Okay.
And that is exactly the same hours that they've been doing for the last 10 years.
And so there's no formal last call? Or is there a formal? What time is the last call?
It's manager's discretion. I think what the mayor's looking for is, as we know, in a normal bar situation and you get to 2 o'clock, you do a last call at 1:30 or 1:15 to make sure that all the alcohol is put away before that 2 o'clock, because that would be a violation of law. Here, it's different because it's by CUP, and so they make sure that they're done and people are out by that time, but it sounds like there's no actual somebody saying last call generally, although maybe it happens sometimes.
Okay. And would Mr. Folds be open to a last call that he would need to comply with, cronies would need to comply with, that would be earlier in the evening?
Indicating a last call saying that you have to be done and give back your glasses, and we have alcohol off the table by 11 o'clock Sunday through Thursday and by 12:30 in the morning Friday and Saturday.
Well, no. I'm just asking the question. Earlier than that.
So
Because
really,
right now, he could serve up until 12:29 or 12:30.
right, that's true.
So
if-
I'm just trying to ask the question whether or not he would consider having an earlier last call so that alcohol would not be being served later than 11 o'clock at night.
May I just move?
Many restaurants and bars in the area have a last call.
I got it. For the record, what I understand is the normal course and scope of what goes on at Cronies is generally they're closing up at the 9:30 or 10 o'clock when demand runs out. On those occasions where it goes to 11, they make sure that all of the alcohol is off the table, put away, and the place is closed as it's supposed to be under these hours. So to the extent that we're talking about last call, if we define last call to say they make an announcement half an hour before whatever time they're going to close, that they're going to close, then I think that would probably be acceptable, sure.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, and if the concern was, like for the 11:30, or say 11 o'clock, at 10:59 they're going to be serving a bunch of alcohol, that shouldn't be happening, and that's not happening, no.
But it could be.
Well, no, it can't.
I mean, under the rules, it could be.
No, it can't be. This is, your hours from the CUP allow it to go to 11 o'clock. That doesn't mean service, that means service and consumption and be done at 11 or 12:30, depending on the night. That's what it means. And that's what they're abiding by, and it's usually earlier.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions for the attorney. Councilmember Klein-Lopez?
I just have one question. When I was watching the Planning Commission, I saw that the sheriff had given a report that was pretty much just for the calendar year, that there had not been any incidents for that period of time. But you've had the CUP for 10 years. So I'm wondering if you can expand on that. And just, obviously you're not going to remember every single incident that may or may not have happened, but just in general, how common are alcohol-related incidents? And I want to your point, focus on the land use issues affected by alcohol. I'm not talking about sheriff calls for the public health issues and things like that, things that aren't in our jurisdiction. I'm talking about how common are alcohol-related incidents now, just in general on a yearly basis?
Well, to the extent that so that I can understand your question, to define what that means, there are, and we've inquired, and so I feel comfortable saying this, generally when we talk about alcohol-related incidents, we're talking about service to a minor. That hasn't occurred. We're talking about service to an obviously intoxicated person. That has not occurred. If there's a drunk driving incident and it gets traced back to an alcohol licensee, that can be an alcohol-related incident. None of that's occurred.
Just to confirm, in the Planning Commission meeting, Mr. Folds said they have never gotten complaints, 0 incidents, and Mr. Ray said they've never had complaints and they've never had police out. Those are quotes. And I understood that to be related to the police report that was given, which was a finite period of time. And I'm asking just generally over the period of time, you can't be saying that there's never been police out. I've got to believe that in 10 years of a alcohol CUP. So I'm just trying to understand.
The answer to that, Councilmember, is that's true, that there isn't. And just, I'm sure that the council could hear me. I was saying, what about bar checks? Because in a lot of communities, police will go in and do just a bar check. That's not happening. And so what the sheriff's report was, not only at the Planning Commission, but also when planning staff inquired from the sheriff, as you know, they will do a calls for service report. They'll look back a sufficient period of time that they think is appropriate. And they look to see if it's taking up too many of your resources. And that did not, the conclusion from that inquiry was that there's no problem there, they don't have a problem, they're not taking up an inordinate amount of your resources, law enforcement resources. And that would certainly be an appropriate element to focus on. But the facts are that it's not a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Councilmember Wolf?
And the mayor addressed a few of mine, but can we get clarification regarding when alcohol, so between Sunday and Thursdays, alcohol cannot be served after, I'm hearing two conflicting answers. So you close at 11, but when is the last time alcohol can be served? And then on the same thing for Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, which is 12:30 a.m.
If I understand the council member's question correctly, you're making a distinction between service and consumption. Is that where the council member's going?
Yes.
Okay.
When can it be served?
Okay. And I know that from what I am told, and I'm sure I'll be told if I'm incorrect, please do, that the service and the consumption can go right up to the last minute. However, at 10:59 or 12:29 in the morning, they're not serving alcohol because there's no way somebody's going to be able to consume it and get them out the door by 12:30 or get out by 11, which they're very good at doing, is making sure they're complying with these hours. And there's been no evidence or facts presented by anybody, law enforcement or anything, that those hours are being exceeded or there's a problem with that or anything. They're abiding by that. And normally, it's actually closing down earlier than these hours, so, which a good deal of these people here tonight that you saw stand up, I think, can attest to.
Right. Understand that. Thank you. That answers my question.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on here. If there's no further questions.
Madam Mayor, if I have a question for staff, do I need to wait or can I ask that? How can I do that?
You can, it's going to be during the public hearing anyways, so I don't have a problem with you before we take public testimony asking a question of staff.
That's okay? Okay. And again, I know you may not know the exact answer, but just off the top of your head, do we have any other establishments in town that have a type 47 that resemble the hours of what is being asked? So for example, Cronies opens at 8 a.m., is that right? At 8 a.m. they open, and it's my understanding we don't have any type 47 licenses that open that early. I believe our restaurants open at 10 or 11 in the morning. And then also going late into the evening, our restaurants like Latigo, Latigo's open 11 to 9 latest. Other than maybe Canyon Club, do we have any other type 47 establishment that would go as late as 12:30?
No, I think Canyon Club's the only one.
Okay, thank you.
And just for the record, the Canyon Club is north of the 101 freeway, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, technically south. South.
South of the freeway, Madam Mayor.
South of the freeway, thank you. But Cronies is north of the freeway, just to get that right. Okay, so before we move on to public comment, do you have anything further that you want to say? You'll have an opportunity for rebuttal later, but is there anything you wanted to say now?
Not at the moment, as long as we do reserve our rights for the rebuttal. It sounds like we are, so I appreciate that.
Yes, no problem with that.
Thank you.
So now, also before we move on to public comments, does any council member have any other questions of the applicant? Okay, so you may sit down. Thank you very much. And I will now defer to the city clerk for any public comments. If you have something again to distribute to the city council, please hand it to our city clerk and do not approach the dais. Public testimony is limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and a speaker's time may not be transferred to another speaker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For clarification, Mr. Jameson's packet had 49 communications. 24 of those are in attachment 5 in the agenda packet, so that you do have that total. In addition to that, we had 9 more, so for a total of 58, and you have all of them.
Thank you very much for clarifying that.
You're welcome. So we'll first start out with, we did receive written public comments by email on or before the 4 p.m. deadline, and they were forwarded to the City Council prior to the meeting. They'll be part of the permanent record. And public comments were received by Michael Teitelbaum, Stephen Allen Jameson, Solomon Saltzman and Jameson, representing Cronies Sports Grill, Fan Long, owner of the Kumon Learning Center, Agoura Hills, Larry Horn, owner of Love's Pets, Agoura Hills, Michael DiGiosa, business owner of Italia Deli and Bakery, Agoura Hills, Manny, I think it's Buhold, owner and chief instructor of Agoura Hills World Champion Karate in Agoura Hills, Sheldon Kuna, owner and operator of Prentice Sign, Agoura Hills, Paul Reynoso, owner of Raoul's Barbershop, Agoura Hills, Mick Mahan, owner operator of Parma's Pizzeria in Agoura Hills, Tracy and Danny Greenberg, representing the Great Race, Agoura Hills, Betsy Cray, Agoura, Brian McGowan, Agoura Hills, Matt Wiltshire, Agoura Hills, Corey Harpole, Agoura, Ken Corney, Ventura, Richard Clock, Agoura Hills, Daniel P. Ackerman, Agoura Hills, Charlie Smith, Westlake Village, Angela Giacob, I think is how she says it, Westlake Village, Mike Macias, Pat Wilkeson, representing Agoura Meadows, LLC, Brad Snyder, co-general partner, Agoura Meadows, LLC, Kevin Kowalczyk, Agoura Hills, Linda L., Ted Hunter, Agoura Hills, Brad Gordon, Agoura Hills, David Jaragai, Agoura Hills, Stan Helfand, Agoura Hills, Emily Helfand, Agoura Hills, Karen Zach Kent, DDS, Agoura Hills, Scott Corner, I think it's Corner, Koerner, Agoura Hills, Brad Golden, Brian Whalen, business owner, Agoura Hills, and Terry Dawson. We also did receive 2 written comments from Molly, and one is unidentified that I'll pass on to you once we start the public comments. And we do have speakers this evening.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So our first speaker is Charles Smith, followed by Steve Reed.
Good evening. Welcome.
City Council,
So
staff.
let's make sure that you speak really right into the...
Right into the microphone so you can hear me. Yes, thank you.
Commission meetings, I was struggling.
Thank you.
So and again, you have 3 minutes to speak, ending when the red light appears on the podium, and just please adjust the microphone and begin your comments now.
Thank you. Mayor, members of the City Council, staff, thank you for the time to speak tonight. My name is Charlie Smith. I'm speaking tonight in support of the agenda item to approve Cronies' amended CUP because it's the right thing to do. Cronies is a family restaurant that is committed to serving the communities that they operate in. They have been responsibly operating and serving communities in Los Angeles and Ventura County for almost 35 years, 10 years in this city. A lot has been said by a very competent attorney about the consistency of the request. I'm not going to speak on that. What I'm going to speak about is that Cronies is a community-based business. What I mean by that is they tirelessly support, serve, and represent the communities that they live and operate in. When you go inside of a Cronies, they represent the history, the culture, and the members and the teams in the cities that they operate in. So many of the schools, the students, the youth groups come to Cronies to open their cash register because there is such a plight for support for charity funding of these organizations, and they rely heavily on Cronies to do that. We can't have it both ways. We can't ask them to open their cash registers to support the city, the youth groups, the schools, the football teams, the baseball teams, the Little League teams, the Great Race, and then deny them the opportunity to serve the community by serving additional variety of beverages in this community responsibly and safely. I'll just ask you to approve this because it's the right thing to do, and we can't put down a business that does so much to lift so many others up. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me just add that if you want to do the applause, we're going to be here all night. So what we normally ask you to do is if you agree with the speaker, just go like this, and then the city clerk can just call up the next speaker and we can keep it moving. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Steve Reed, followed by Kimmy Cercetti.
Hi, thanks for letting me speak tonight. My name's Steve Reed. I'm here with my wife, Gracie. I think you'll find us
Speak into the mic. So.
I think you'll find that we are your typical Agoura Hills resident, whatever that means. But we live on Quail Run Drive. We've lived in Agoura Hills for 25 years, and we love it here. Raising our kids. We love living here, raising our kids. We love checking out all the restaurants, all the great restaurants that we have in our area, Cronies being one of them. We love going there, always had a good time there, never any problems. Again, we're on Quail Run Drive, and we have to be in the neighborhood that's got to be the closest to Cronies. When Mr. Nesevic brought up the slide over there of the overhead, you can almost see our house. We were just out of the range of that photo. We're close. Latigo Kids there, Cronies is there. I just wanted to come and speak because it just seems like on the surface of things, it just seems unfair that when we heard that Cronies got denied this full bar, or whatever you want to call it, application, that it just seems unfair given that Latigo Kids there, they do it. We've never had any problems with noise or extra traffic because Latigo Kid has theirs, or with Cronies, given what they already have. So there's never been any problem. And again, just on the surface, it seems unfair that it wouldn't be granted the same for Cronies. It's got to be so hard to run a restaurant or be a small business owner and try and stay afloat in the climate, and to be up against the competition that you have. And if you've got another restaurant like Latigo Kid that's just a few feet away that has that opportunity to service more clientele, it just doesn't seem right. And I'm still really a little unclear and unsure as to why they're being denied this full bar application. But you know, you said Latigo Kid maybe brought it from their other location, or they got it a long time ago and maybe things have changed. I don't know. But on the surface, it does seem unfair. You got to keep up with the competition. Again, we've been to Cronies plenty of times. It's a great restaurant. And I just want to bring up one other thing really quick. It might be a little controversial, but we know that during the lockdown, Cronies maybe wasn't the council's favorite business. I don't know. We hear a lot of stuff on Nextdoor, you know, that application and everything. So I just want to make sure, and it's my sincere hope that the council isn't punishing Cronies for maybe what they thought they did just to stay open and keep their employees. We hope that none of that is going on, and we just ask you to do the right thing. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Our next speaker is, and I apologize, Kimmy, if I'm getting this wrong, Kimmy Cercetti, followed by Maria DiMaggio.
Good evening. My name is Kimmy Carachetti, and I am the General Manager at Cronies in Agoura Hills. Speaking on behalf of the staff, I am here seeking approval of our application to include distilled cocktails as an additional offering to our valued customers. I believe that this will not only enhance the dining experience for our guests, but also contribute positively to the restaurant. Despite our best efforts, our restaurant has not yet reached our full potential. We see the ability to serve cocktails as a crucial stepping stone toward becoming a vibrant, relevant establishment, ensuring we remain a beloved member of our community for years to come. This change will allow us to appeal to a wider audience and create a buzz that will make Agoura Hills Cronies a go-to destination, in turn creating more positions and shifts for employees to make more money during these difficult times. Over the past 10 years in Agoura, we have been deeply committed to supporting our community. We have donated funds and food to our local schools, sponsored youth sports, have been a resourceful participant in the Great Race, and offered a safe space for firefighters to refuel and families to settle while the Malibu fires forced many out of their homes. Sorry. Cronies is a family-owned business. I'm sorry, guys.
That's okay. We cry all the time.
Nervous. Okay. Cronies is a family-owned business who has always proven to be a responsible alcohol retailer through training and certification of all of our employees. We will maintain our high standards and continue to prioritize the well-being of our patrons by serving responsibly. Broadening our beverage menu will make our restaurant busier, increasing revenue, which will allow us to give even more back to our community. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
I understand Maria DiMaggio is actually for the other items, so we'll go forward with Daniel Ackerman, followed by Ken Corney.
Okay.
Good evening. Thank you for the time. I'm in support of the application. Good to see you again, Councilmember Klein Lopez.
We went to high school together.
I've lived here for over 50 years, and our kids were brought up together. I will keep it very brief. I agree with the other speakers, and thank you, Kim. I've lived here for over 50 years. My mom is famous for chaining herself to oak trees here. So back in the day when they were bulldozing oak trees here, my mom was chained to the oak trees and then trying to save all the wildlife in Chesbrough Canyon. And the apple doesn't fall too far from the acorn doesn't fall too far from the oak tree. I'm very protective of this community. I have been a prosecutor for 25 years, and I should say and disclaim that these are my comments only, not the DA's office. So I'm very in touch with the law enforcement community and the safety issues that are going on here. And this is a safe operation, and it's a professional operation. And I wouldn't be here to vouch for them if it wasn't. So I would appreciate and respect if you would approve their application. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I just ask you, what's your mother's name? Hello. What was your mother's name?
Oh, you can Google me true. My wife's name is Elisa.
No, your mother's.
And my mother's name is Dolores Aikman.
Ah,
Dolores.
okay.
So she's very active in the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ken Corney, followed by Christine Folds.
Well, hello, Mayor, members of council.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. So I am not a resident of Agoura Hills. I'm the retired police chief from the city of Ventura, whereas the city that Cronies got its start. I don't know how many years ago, but I can guarantee you Dave looked a lot younger then. He does now. I was officer there for a little over 33 years, served as police chief from 2009 to 2020. During my tenure in Ventura, we ran what was called a responsible retailer program. We were kind of one of the agencies in California who kind of took that on and became involved having an officer that was funded to do nothing but oversee our ABC establishments throughout the city, any type of ABC license. And so as part of that, we called it responsible retailer program. We worked a lot with licensees in their serving. We did all kinds of bar checks and shoulder tap operations and things. And of course, if there was a problem or a concern at an establishment, we took them to task and dealt with them. We found, of course, Cronies to be one of our more model operators. We spent a lot of time with Dave. I want to also say that I'm here on my own. I don't work for them. Truth be told, I haven't been in a Cronies for probably 5 or 10 years. So Dave called me, talked to me about the situation, asked me to write a letter, which I gave you, and I actually told him I'd come out today if I was in town and speak. So we spent a lot of time on alcohol-related issues. I did it as a corporal, a sergeant, later a lieutenant, a commander, an assistant chief, and ultimately chief in different roles, from everywhere from being on a dance floor with it to being the administrator over it and speaking to council, speaking at planning commissions, and really researching and understanding the issues. So I think in Ventura, we denied a lot of licenses. We pushed back, didn't allow licenses in areas. We also spent time taking licenses away from people for bad operators, and we held people accountable for the behavior. That wasn't our experience with cronies in Ventura. It never has been, and they obviously have a 47 now in Ventura, and I haven't heard anything. I've been gone 4 years, but I haven't heard anything any different. I did go through the paperwork. I started getting hives. I haven't had to read an administrative report for a while, but I read it, and I just want to say, well, I'd never even been by the cronies in Agoura Hills, so I mapped it, drove around the parking lot, looked, and I really would contest that. I don't know what the non-conforming use or the use is. It's an issue. It's, you put the retail establishments there to bring those kind of things in. It's a neighborhood restaurant, and I agree. There's another restaurant in the area, so I think, having that kind of retail program there is what you have, what you put it there for the stores.
Can you just wrap
Running
up?
out of town, yeah. So I just want to say that I've read it. I, in my professional opinion, I don't see any reason why that we wouldn't allow, that you would not consider overturning the planning commission's ruling and granting them their license.
Thank you very much.
3 minutes goes fast.
Yeah.
Christine Folds, followed by Jordan Liddell.
Hello. My name's Christine Folds. My husband is Dave. I'm glad you said that about him looking young. One time they asked him if he was my daughter's grandfather. We started Cronies 34 years ago, and since that time, we've made some of our employees partners. We've grown to 5 locations, and we currently employ more than 200 people from Ventura to Agoura. We're pretty proud of that, since both of us came from single parents on welfare. Just to answer a few questions, I'm confused why you said the landscaping wasn't done. We have a cement area in the front, and I personally put out flowered beds, which I thought was what we were supposed to do. So if there's something else that hasn't been done, let me know. And for the record, our conditional use permit may have certain times, but let's be serious, this is the city of Agoura. If you look on Google, our hours say we're open till 9:30. We don't staff anyone in the kitchen, in the front, after 10 p.m. We are closed and locked up at 10 p.m. This is Agoura. So 10 years ago, they might have given us that, but no one in Agoura stays out past 10. We don't schedule people past 10. And I just wanted to address the Planning Commission hearing. One of the members expressed concerns regarding potential noise issues. And in order to address these concerns, Dave Ray, my husband, and myself, we walked the streets. We talked to the people in our center. We talked to the people across from the center. We talked to the neighbors behind us. They all said the same thing. There's no noise complaints. In fact, the only noise that they hear in the neighborhood are the trucks from Vaughn's at 6 a.m. That's the only thing they hear from our center. And just on another note, I wanted to clarify that during the hearing, the phrase kept saying selling more alcohol. It was repeatedly used, and it's not an accurate representation of what our intentions are. Our objective is not to sell more alcohol, but rather to offer different selection of alcohol beverages. People want choices. They see the internet, they want choices. Women want choices. I've done this in 4 of our 5 other restaurants. I spearheaded the change because I saw the changes in people's drinking habits. And we know what we have. We have more sophisticated drinkers, and we have more women. That's what they want. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jordan Liddell, followed by Brooke Garrick.
Hello, my name's Dean Liddell. I came to Agoura Hills 18 years ago. I'm a resident in the community directly west of Cronies Restaurant. I would say probably 500 yards from the entrance to their restaurant. We moved our businesses to Agoura Hills and currently have multiple businesses all located in Agoura Hills. We believe in Agoura Hills. We believe in and have vested ourselves in Agoura Hills. Important for me to say also that we have probably visited Cronies Restaurant 200 times since they opened. Until today, right until now, have never met Mr. Folds. I met his wife a couple of moments before the hearing started. But I'm here today because I believe in this community, and I believe that City Council, Mayor, staff, I believe that we support each other. We support businesses. This community supported my business. This community supported my youth foundation. We preferentially hire Agoura residents. My children went to school here, and we employ a number of people like Cronies does. And I believe that we're successful in this community as a family. We're successful as a business because we get support from this community. And I believe I'm here today with no dog in the fight. I don't even drink, so I could care less whether Cronies serves beer, alcohol, or margaritas or whatever they do. But I believe as a community, we need to support them. I believe that if they're making a decision to enhance their liquor license, I believe that a good business decision on their behalf is that it would enhance the health of their business, which in turn enhances the health of their contribution to our community. And I believe as a community, that's why we're here today. And I believe that that's the faith I have in all of you and in our city, which has supported me. And I think we owe that back to them today. And like I said, I want to make it very clear, I'm a patron, but I was not asked to speak here. I was not asked to be here. I'm here because I believe that that's what we do for each other. And as businesses and small businesses, I believe I need to be here and to support them. And I would ask that we do the same for them and we grant them this license and allow them to be a successful contributor to this community like all of us want to be. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Brooke Gehrig, followed by Dustin Crouch.
My name is Brooke Gehrig, and I have had the privilege to work for Cronies for 4 years now. Before I tell you what I'm here to tell you today, I want to tell you one thing that I claimed when I started working for this establishment. I said 1 year tops. It's been 4. Those opinions have clearly changed for a multitude of reasons that I've somehow condensed into the next 2 minutes and 40 seconds for you today. Not only have I had the privilege to work for and with Dave Folds for the last 4 years and Dave Ray, but also been able to witness success and growth within a struggling industry, working in multiple locations, including Simi Valley, Agoura Hills, and Newbury Park. It is a true honor to stand before City Council today and speak on behalf of a company I proudly stand by. Mainly being employed at our Simi Valley location, I have been able to witness expansions through supporting schools, through fundraisers, supporting first responders, and many more people within our community. I have also watched our community grow with building a patio that has welcomed warm summer nights and cozy winter mornings. I've also been able to firsthand see the transition from only serving beer and wine to having an actual cocktail menu and bar. If we are to address the elephant in the room today, we are concerned about the effect and responsibility a liquor license can hold. The main concern is the change it may bring. Our restaurant will always value quality over quantity, and the prices clearly speak for themselves if you have not looked at the price of our cocktail menu. As well as that, the quality is very important to us. We do not promote our business as a place to get drunk. Our name is Cronies Sports Grill, not bar. At the end of the day, we are a family-friendly restaurant, and that has always been our main value. Our liquor license has not changed our clientele. If anything, I've watched that specific clientele grow. The word cronies or cronios originates from England all the way back in the 17th century. Back then, it meant long-term. Over time, it became a slang word that meant close friend or companion. And I can confidently stand by our restaurant and say that our name rings true to what the definition is. Our customers are long-term friends and companions to us, some coming since opening day and some fairly new. I know majority of my customers by names. I could tell you their jobs, how many kids they have, and their favorite hobbies. I've also been blessed to see these children grow over the years as well. I've unfortunately even mourned losses with some of our customers of loved ones that were ours and loved ones that were theirs as well. My point is, they are like family to us, to all the servers, managers, and even the cooks in the kitchen. If there's one thing we all collectively do for our friends and family, it is look out for them. Our staff cares about the safety of our customers. We do that every day we work. We cared long before a liquor license and continue to care every day that we have one. We are a community, and we always have been and always will be. We are more than just a restaurant. We are a place of hospitality and comfortability for families. Agoura Hills City Council, I would like to take you to, and I invoke you today to reconsider your concerns and know that safety has always been our #1 priority. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dustin Crouch, followed by Emily Helfand.
Hello. It's nice to be here. I've never been here before.
Welcome.
My name is Dustin Croik. I'm the head football coach at Agoura High School. In addition to that, I've also lived in Agoura Hills for over 30 years. The only years I didn't spend in Agoura were in New York. I met my wife. She's from New York, so she's obsessed with the chicken wings. If you guys have never been there, the chicken wings are a very good reason to go to Cronies. I'm here because these two gentlemen and their business have done amazing things for our football program. And not only for our football program, in addition to being the football coach, I have 2 young kids. I'm a Agoura Pony baseball coach. I'm a soccer dad. I can't coach soccer. But everything we do as a family and in my sports family, we end up at Cronies after everything. My kids love it. Like I said, my wife loves the chicken wings. We spend a lot of times there. And what these gentlemen do for every sports program that I'm a part of, we can't run these programs without them. So another gentleman came up here and talked about community. And in our football program at Agoura High School, it's all about family, all about community. And Cronies is all about that. They do everything they can to help us and support us. I've been in the bar business. My dad owned a bar in downtown LA for years. And in my early adulthood, I spent a lot of time in a bar. And that was tough. It was trouble everywhere. The way that these guys run their bar is just top notch. And I can't say more good things about Cronies and the things they do for us and our community and the family vibe for Agoura. So thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Emily Helfand, followed by Aaron Roth. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you for letting me speak. First, I want to say that I'm opposed to this. I'm not an evil person.
Speak into the mic.
Oh,
so
I'm
everyone
sorry.
can hear you. Thank you.
Can you hear me now? Okay. So I want to say I'm opposed to this. I'm not an evil person. I live here. I'm a real person also. I live in Agoura Hills. I care so much. I just drove all the way from El Segundo, where I work, to be here for this meeting on time. So if anyone out there thinks that I'm here or paid or whatever, I'm not. I'm doing this because I care about my community. I have grown up here. I'm 28. I've lived here my entire life. And I have to say that I don't believe that Cronies has proven anything. Yeah, they may have a great community within, but during COVID, they proved that they were irresponsible. They were blatantly violating the law. My sister worked next door at Goodwill during this time, and she came in, she wanted to give comment, and she has been so traumatized during her time working next door to Cronies by their patrons that she had to leave. I think that speaks a lot. She was barely 18, working at Goodwill, doing her job, telling people they had to wear a mask. And all these people that were going to Cronies would then come in to Goodwill and start screaming at her. They would then go to Cronies, drink, do whatever, try to come back, and they were harassing her. This is a barely 18-year-old girl. And this is how they allow their patrons to act belligerently? I'm not going to stand and be okay with an establishment going and serving hard liquor when they have proven that they don't care about others, or at least trying to distance themselves from the activity that they encouraged during a time when people were dying. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here.
Our next speaker is Aaron Roth, followed by Casey Webb. Please make sure to adjust the microphone.
We good?
Good.
All right, Madam Mayor, council members. A lot's been said. I don't want to take up a lot of your time tonight, but Cronies is about community. These guys pour into your community, your youth athletic programs, your high school programs, the Great Race. They feed all these guys, and I just wanted to back up, the gentleman that was up here earlier. You can't keep asking these guys to sponsor community events, take care of these kids, keep them off the streets, and then stun their growth as a business. It's not fair, and that's pretty much it. I hope you guys will reconsider and give these guys a shot to do what they do best, which is serve our community and give them options. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Casey Webb, followed by Molly.
Welcome.
Welcome. This is my first time here.
Congratulations.
My name is Casey Webb, and I'm the head football coach at Oak Park High School, and I'm also an educator in the Oak Park Unified School District. I've been a member in Oak Park and Agoura for 37 years. It's my first time standing before you, but I couldn't be more proud to speak to you about the wonderful people and business of Cronies. Family restaurants are what make neighborhoods and communities so special. They not only provide meals, but a gathering place for families, friends, youth sports teams, and neighbors to come together to create memories. 10 years ago, I met my wife at Cronies. We now have 2 little girls, and anytime we ask them where they want to go eat, their response is always Cronies. Not only that, but our entire family looks forward to their Christmas party that they have each December. Santa visits, he was just up here, bringing stuffed animals for each child, and he takes photos with everyone. The entire restaurant sings Cronies Christmas carols and has the best time. My 5-year-old Aspen loves the number 5, and that's 5 onion rings. Additionally, Cronies supports local schools and youth sports leagues. Cronies is Oak Park High School's biggest sponsor. They also sponsor many other high school programs throughout Ventura and LA County. You can see their sponsorship on every single scoreboard on Friday nights. They welcome teams into their establishment with open arms, excitement, and show responsibility that their customers are safe and well taken care of. Adding a liquor license to Cronies will enhance the dining experience for all of its customers. Most importantly, granting the license supports local business growth and economic development. It's going to increase revenue, therefore contributing to our local community more. They sponsor the Great Race, Agoura Pony Baseball, the local youth football chapter, and any other youth sports programs around. I understand the concerns about alcohol consumption and its impact on our community. However, I've known Dave and Dave for 10 years, and they would never, and I mean never, put any member of this community in danger. I trust Dave and Dave, and I know they will adhere to all the regulations and policies regarding all alcohol sales. They are committed to maintaining a safe and welcoming environment for all patrons. The staff, managers, and waitresses are responsible and be proactive should any issue arise. I would never bring my daughter or any football player into Cronies knowing that they wouldn't take this seriously. Granting a liquor license to Cronies aligns with the community of Agoura Hills and Oak Park's core values of supporting local businesses and enhancing our dining options. It will foster an inclusive atmosphere where families and individuals can gather to enjoy great food and even better company. One thing I've learned as a football coach, dealing with kids, is about second chances. And I understand there might have been some stuff that happened in the past, but as I've grown as a human being, I have learned that it is so important to give second chances to some of my football players and where they would be in life without those second chances. So if this is something that is about what has happened in the past, I think about maturing as a human being is about second chances. And these 2 people, I'm telling you right here, are the most wonderful business owners. And you can see all these people here. It's really special what goes on. And it's really more of a family than a restaurant. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Molly, followed by Diane Vanelli.
Hi, thank you for letting me speak.
Will you pull the mic closer to you? There you go, yeah.
I feel like we have to eat it. But
Yes.
so I can appreciate that Cronies is a big supporter of organizations here in Agoura. I've lived here for 30 years. However, if they really can follow rules, then they should have done it when everybody else was. Their business license was suspended. Their health permit was suspended. They have been given a second chance by being allowed to continue to do business here. My concern is that they are reckless and that we as a community are giving them carte blanche of everything. And yes, it's not a second chance when other people are involved, and I oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Diane Vanelli. Is Diane still here? We have no further speakers.
Okay, thank you. So I will now defer to the applicant. You'll have 5 minutes for rebuttal. The applicant's attorney, right? Yeah, okay.
Yes. Thank you very much. Madam Mayor, members of the council, it's my honor again to stand before you, Stephen Jameson, Solomon Saltzman and Jameson on behalf of Cronies. What you've witnessed here tonight is a really pretty special outpouring of your community providing support for this business, for this local business. The evidence that's been before you is almost exclusively favorable. It's almost exclusively supportive. And with regard to the land use elements that we're talking about, that really are the findings that you're required to make a determination on tonight, this is really an easy decision. When it comes right down to it, if you exclude those things that really are not relevant, I've heard a couple people talk about something that happened a couple of years ago. That's not relevant. Those things are in the past. That's something different. But what's before you tonight is a very simple decision. You've had a police chief, you've had come to testify before you, who has a great deal of experience in not only helping to support his city council in either granting or denying conditional use permits, but also rejecting and getting rid of people that have difficult times. And he understands what it means to have a problem operator. And as you can see from all the people that came before you tonight, including Chief Corney, and the football coaches, and the deputy district attorney who was here, who was speaking on his own behalf, not for the county, but he still understands law enforcement. People that have actually attended and been to Cronies, that are familiar with how Cronies has operated for 10 years. This location is not one that's coming before you tonight unproven. It's not one that's coming before you tonight without any history of showing how it takes care of the people that come to eat and drink in their establishment. It's not one that you have to take a flyer on, that you have to guess whether or not they're going to be a good operator and if they're going to be a good community member. They've proven themselves. You've heard the testimony tonight. You've seen the 50 or 60 or more people that are before you tonight that all stood up when I asked them to stand up and show their support. You've heard a great deal about fundraising and sponsorships. I've got to tell you, I don't live in your community. I don't have the personal knowledge of those things that have been testified before you tonight. But what I can tell you is that when I showed up in the city this afternoon, getting ready to come to this hearing and speak before you, I was in jeans and a t-shirt. I had to change to a suit. It's 95 degrees out there. And I changed in their kitchen. And I mention that because what stuck out to me is in their kitchen, which is their office, basically in the office, I saw 2 notebooks. One notebook, big thick thing, bunch of stuff sticking out, having to do with sponsorships, and the other one having to do with fundraisers. And I thought, wow, that'd be something interesting to tell the council about because they're serious about it. But other than mentioning it right now before you that I saw that and I was impressed by it, you've heard the people that benefit from all that. You've heard the people come before you that say this is their community, you are their community. They're asking respectfully for you to make a decision that you are indeed able to make all these findings, satisfy all these findings, all the land use findings. They will treat this new CUP or this revised CUP with respect. They've already shown themselves to treat this community with respect. They know what it's like to go through this process, which is not easy, as you can see, to get just a little bit of distilled spirits to be able to have with their meals. The Type 47 will allow them to do that. These other restaurants that Cronies has, many of them went from a Type 41 to a Type 47. None of them have had any problems or difficulties. So what you've had before you really comes down to a very easy and simple decision. If you look at the elements, you look at the facts before you, I respectfully request you to approve it because it does satisfy every one of those elements. And the easiest way to do that is to look back at the staff report that your professional staff put together for purposes of the Planning Commission meeting, where they went through every one of these elements, identified what the facts were at that time, and said that they satisfy each of these elements, and it should be approved. Planning Commission felt differently. For whatever reason, it felt differently. This is a de novo hearing before you with all this new evidence, with all this support, giving you every reason to find in their favor, and we'd respectfully request you to do that. And if you have any questions or concerns, or you'd like any consideration by cronies to do something differently, whether it be the landscaping or something else, I think, as you can see, they take that seriously, and they'll take it happens. And with that, the red lights come on, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so before closing the public hearing, does any council member have any further questions of the applicant's attorney or the staff? Seeing none, let me just check my notes here. And no, I have no further questions either. Okay, so we will, there being no further questions, I'll now close the public hearing, and we'll now move on to deliberations. And I'm going to start with Councilmember Klein-Lopez.
I got it. It's a long night, hitting the wrong button there. First of all, I just want to thank everyone who has come out tonight. I know that some of you are testifying for the very first time at a public meeting, and I love to see it. Very big believer in public engagement, and so I appreciate that it's not always easy. It's often hard to speak your piece in front of a group of people, and especially in front of a group of elected people. So I just want to say, I know it's hard. I appreciate everyone coming out tonight, and I particularly appreciate the respectful dialogue everyone is engaging in. We heard from a lot of people tonight, and I appreciate the outreach that Cronies has done. Appreciate the letters and the outreach. We don't do outreach. We don't go out and drum up letters and things like that. So I want to make sure to give equal weight to the people that also commented during the Planning Commission, because they also had very relevant feelings and didn't want to come twice. And so I just want to make sure that everyone here knows that when we are looking at a de novo case here, we take it all in. So I watched the Planning Commission meeting twice. I read all the letters several times, and you know, it's a lot to take in. But I just want you to know that when we're up here deliberating tonight, it's not just about the people in the room. It's about the whole picture, and I just want to recognize that as well. With that said, we've heard a lot from both sides of the issue. We've gotten comments and letters from people who want to see the license extended to expanded to type 47, and we've also heard from people who don't want to see this. And so I just kind of want to say up front that I think you're going to hear different things from different people tonight, and we are bound to make people upset no matter what we decide. And we know that when we take the role as a city council member. So just going into this, I just want to say, you know, you're going to hear from different points of view from all of us, and I hope you can appreciate and respect that it's not easy for us. It's not easy for us because we know that no matter what we do, we're gonna upset people, and that's just the nature of the game. There's definitely a lot of love and feeling in this room, and I acknowledge that. And also, as the attorney said, our job is also to look at this in a pretty dry land use lens. to see if our code, if what you are asking applies to our code. So when I go through and I look at the current CUP, conditional use permit, and I look at the request going forward, and I compare that with our general plan and our municipal codes, I am not doing this, I just want you to know, I'm not doing this from any other lens than what I have jurisdiction over. So I'm not looking at this from a health code, I'm not looking at this from an ABC code, I'm looking at this from what's in our jurisdiction, which is land use. My biggest concern about this request is public safety. So at the Planning Commission meeting, our staff pulled a very short sheriff's report of just, the calendar year. But police reports, sheriff's reports, they are public documents. And so I did pull a longer report, so I could see how that did expand over, they don't have 10 years, but I pulled it a little bit longer than a year. And I went through, as I think Mr. Folds said, there's a lot of calls about transients. There's a lot of calls about things that, again, are not really pertaining to tonight. I looked at it in terms of our code, which is, could things going on there be considered harmful secondary nuisances, which includes public intoxication, increased risk of trespass, vandalism, public rights of way, things like that. So I went through and I did find things. Again, I'm pulling out the times that maybe you all called when your burglar alarm went off. I'm only pulling the things relevant to tonight's agenda. And I did find a lot of things. I found large gatherings of drinking alcohol outside the business, large crowd drinking blocking traffic, crowds blocking handicap access, family being harassed, disability access blocked, possible drunk driver, battery, one arrested for battery, possible drunk in public, disturbance, fight, business disturbance, drunk, arrest, drunk in public, disturbance, medical transport. So again, I can't make, I wasn't there, I don't know what the direct connection was, but this is specific to the Cronies location. This isn't the mall, this isn't Latigo, this is specific to the Cronies location, and while we can't share our internal communications with the sheriffs, you're welcome to do a public records request to confirm what I'm talking about. The only other place in the city that had comparable and slightly more of a issues with calling sheriffs and disturbances was Canyon Club, which is understandable. They do have a type 47, they do serve alcohol, they're open later. And they are also, different type of business, right? They're a club, they have live entertainment, but they are a type 47. And, they're also on the south side of the freeway. They're not by concentrated residential areas. And one of the things that we look at when we look at our code to see if we can make the findings is if the request is, and let me find the language, gosh, I was so organized and then I wasn't. It basically says, and I'll, a disproportionate, give me 1 second. I have a lot of papers up here. It has to say that the requested use is not located in what has been determined to be a high crime area or where a disproportionate number of police calls occur. I would never call Agoura a high crime area relative to some of the other areas around here, but relatively, I would say that this is disproportionate. So my issues come from a concern for public safety. You can Google and find videos of things happening on the patio that I'm surprised you don't have. There was a fight on the patio that fell out into the parking lot. I mean, these are just things I Googled. So the only alcohol selling location that got more is Canyon Club. I mentioned that. And, you know, the other thing, and again, my notes are now all over the place, is that it doesn't seem that the hours of selling hard alcohol is really consistent with some of our other businesses in the area. So there's no other establishment that could sell hard alcohol at 8 a.m. And like I said, and most of our restaurants that have type 47s are open around 11 a.m. and close around 9. Again, with Canyon Club being the exception to that. We got letters about us being a bedroom community and a family-friendly community. And those I take, you know, those are a bit subjective, but, you know, I do take those and I layer that against our code. So in writing all these notes all over the place, that's the layman's terms of how I'm feeling. I'm now going to read for my staff the findings that I cannot make. I think that the Planning Commission actually did do a good job describing their findings, even taking out the extended hours. Many of the findings that they came up with, I think, are still relevant to me in this de novo hearing. So for our staff, here are the sections where I'm not able to make the findings. Agoura Hills Municipal Code 96732.E.2, compatible with surrounding properties. We have residential within 230 feet of these properties. Noise louder than ambient levels, proximity to residents, and topography of how noise travels. As the Planning Commission said, the wash is not a barrier. There's no sound barrier there. It's quite the opposite. And we did get letters from neighbors during the Planning Commission. And B, increased vehicular and pedestrian traffic. That same section 3, detrimental to public health and safety or welfare, harmful secondary nuisances such as public intoxication, trespass, and vandalism. And then when you move down to Agoura Hills Municipal Code 9396.3, you know, we've got A, which is school or similar use, and that is the Kumon, and I appreciate that they wrote the letter and said you're great neighbors. There's still children going in and out of there all day. B, buffered by topographical conditions. Again, I spoke about the wash. E, alcoholic beverage sales restricted to compatible with quiet enjoyment of the neighborhood, which we've discussed. And then, you know, really the last one is H, which is disproportionate number of police calls in a relatively high crime area. So with that, I'm not able to make the findings, but I am definitely interested in hearing what my fellow council members have to say. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Wolf.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight, taking time out of your very busy schedules. I know there's a lot going on, so thank you for coming to speak tonight. I disagree with some of the arguments made by the applicant, and I also think that during the Planning Commission, some of the points that they made were really valid regarding the times 12 a.m. on weekdays and 1 p.m. and 1 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays to stay open. However, that being said, I am going to be able to make the findings today because of the changes that were made, because you guys did take into consideration some of the issues that were brought up during the Planning Commission. And hearing from Kumon, the school, I think was important. Reaching out to the other businesses in the shopping center carried a lot of weight. And so with that, I'm going to kind of end my deliberation because I'd like to hear from the rest of my council members, but I am able to make the findings.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester.
You. I too would like to thank everybody that's come out this evening, both for and against the application. We're being asked this evening to consider one thing and one thing only, and that is changing, upgrading from a 41 license to a 47. And that is what our decision is tonight. And on the basis of just that, I know that there have been things that have happened that may have upset some people, and I'm sorry that they had to go through that. But that is not what we're deciding tonight. Tonight, we are just deciding whether an upgrade to the 47 license should be made. And on those grounds, I agree with Councilmember Wolf, and I can make the findings. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so I also want to thank all of you for coming out. It's really important that we get the community input. We've gotten written comments, both sides of the issue, but we really do appreciate you coming out. As Councilmember Wolf and Lopez said, we know how busy you are, so it's important that you come out. So I would disagree with the applicant's attorney that this is an easy decision, because there's nothing easy about it, because we see how important Cronies is to many members of our community, and we like to support our local businesses. Had Mr. Folds testified, I would have liked to explore more about if he was willing to change his hours of operation, because right now there's nobody else that's open at 8 a.m. that's serving beer and and alcohol of that sort. And these are already really long hours. I'm not sure what happened with the Planning Commission, why there was a request to extend the hours, because they're already from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and 8 a.m. to 12:30 Friday and Saturday. And, those are the hours. So everybody can say whatever they want, but with a Type 47, liquor license, you could be serving until it's time to close. And those are pretty late hours in a bedroom community. I agree with Councilmember Lopez that the buffer, there is no buffer. It's basically a chain link fence that's under 6 feet that protects people from going into the flood control channel. But right behind that flood control channel, and you saw the pictures, is all residential area. And the only other, at 12:30 at night, serving hard alcohol, I know that they have the right to serve beer and wine, but hard alcohol is different. Distilled spirits are different, and I think that there's been some calls to the sheriffs about public intoxication, and I too agree with the Mayor Pro Tem. I don't want to go backwards, but the attorney brought up what a great, how the Cronies follows all the rules, and you raise those issues, and I'm just, I'm not holding it one way or the other. It doesn't really matter, because it was the past, but we do have a different record of following rules and what happened with the alcohol, and we have we know that, there was, the sheriff did come out on several occasions, and there was, public intoxication. That's my biggest problem, is the hours of operation. I mean, serving hard alcohol at 8 o'clock in the morning before, as kids are going to Agoura High School, which is just a block and a half away, is troubling. Kids coming in, having hard alcohol during the lunch hour, and having kids go to Kumon, and then there was another place, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the name, it is a problem. So here's the findings that I'm not able to make. As much as I would like to be helping and making this easier for Cronies, I'm really struggling with our general plan land use 7.A that requires residential neighborhoods be preserved and enhanced through enforcement of land use and property standards that ensure that adjacent non-residential uses are buffered from residents in harmonious and attractive ways, and policy LU 7.11 requires that residential areas be protected from the encroachment of incompatible non-residential uses. I just can't make that finding, because it's right there. Cronies is right there on the corner, and it's not like the flood control channel fence would stop people from going into that community, because it's only protecting people from going into the flood control channel, not into the residential community. Excuse me. The public hearing has closed, and if you'd let me finish my comments, I would appreciate it. Thank you. And he chose not to testify. So that's fine. He has every right not to. Although zoning allows for alcohol to be sold with a CUP, the conditions of approval for Cronies from 2014 specifically require a new CUP if they want to change the type of the liquor license. The Planning Commission in 2014, several of the commissioners acknowledged publicly that they were happy that Cronies was only going for a type 41, it was only beer and wine because they were uncomfortable if it was a type 47 in a residential community. This gives, by having the special condition that the Cronies would have to come back in, and again, this goes back 10 years, that they would have to come back in if they wanted to change their liquor license, which was a condition of approval. This gives the decision makers of the city the ability to look at the alcohol changes proposed. Cronies is a sports bar and grill, and presently it's allowed to serve beer and wine from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and 8 a.m. to 12:30 a.m. Friday and Saturday. A change to a type 47 will allow for distilled spirits to be served during those same hours. And again, in light of that, the proximity to the residential areas to the west, Agoura High School, to the east, and the Kumon Math and Reading Center, which is practically next door to Cronies, changing that to a type 47 would be incompatible with the residential areas and other sensitive uses, which doesn't meet the intent and purpose of the general plan goals. Also, I'm struggling with Agoura Hills Municipal Code Section 9673.E.2. Again, the flood control has a chain link fence, not a sound wall or block wall, which is the only buffer between the residents to the west of Cronies, and it's just not a sufficient buffer. The Agoura Hills Municipal Code states, and I'm trying to remember what it said in the staff report, that between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. are the quietest hours for our city, and that's to mitigate noise impacts. So the addition of distilled spirits that late at night will increase the off-site noise levels at later hours and therefore is incompatible. Third, excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. The purpose and the conditions under which the business would be operated or maintained will be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare based on the factors set forth in Agoura Hills Municipal Code Section 9673.2E.3. The increase to a Type 47 license has the potential to result in harmful secondary nuisances that cannot be controlled through reasonable mitigation measures. Allowing on-site consumption of alcohol under a Type 47 license would increase the risk of public intoxication on adjacent properties or public rights of way, which would also result in increased risk of trespass, vandalism, or intoxicated drivers. That has to do with the CUP. Regarding the alcohol beverage sales, the change to the Type 47 will adversely affect the use of a school, park, playground, or similar use within a 500-foot radius. And we have our Kumon Math and Reading, we have our Lexus Robotics Academy, both which are educational instruction to minors. Agoura High School is right down the street. Like I said, the consumption of distilled spirits would be allowed before school even starts and throughout the entire day until 11 at night during the week and 12:30. Again, the request to serve alcohol under a Type 47 license at this location fails to have a sufficient buffer by public and private improvements or natural topography from residentially zoned areas with the immediate vicinity so as to adversely impact the area. The only buffer is a flood control channel with a chain link fence. And that's just not sufficient to protect our residential community from the effects that can be reasonably expected from the sale of distilled spirits from 8 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night and 8 in the morning until 12:30 at night or 12:30 the next morning in a residential area. The other businesses in Agoura Hills that have a Type 47 license are on the south side of the 101, or they can't serve this late. And I believe the chart that we saw, the only Type 47 in the area was Latigo Kid, and Latigo Kid has much shorter hours. And Latigo Kid actually didn't have to go to the Planning Commission because they weren't required to have a CUP, and they transferred their existing alcohol license from south of the freeway to an existing bar and restaurant that was north of the freeway. You know, I have to admit that I'm a little surprised at the Planning Commission in 2014. You're pretty lucky that they allowed you to serve beer and wine even from 8 in the morning till 11 at night and 8 in the morning till 12:30 on weekends. But that's what they ruled, and they ruled in your favor. But they did have the concern, and they voiced it then, that they were happy that it was just a beer and wine license. That's all the comments that I have. And so I can't really make the findings for you. And so there we are. We have a 2-2. So I'm going to defer to the city attorney and ask her what we do with a 2-2. Do you want to come up to the mic? Well, but the public hearing has been closed. We'd have to hang on a second. Hang on a second, because
hold on a second. Are you asking to reopen the public hearing so you can make a statement? Okay.
Okay. So I am going to, if nobody has any objection, I'm going to reopen the public hearing, and you may speak.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to respectfully submit an objection to the record for the information that Councilmember Klein-Lopez provided tonight that was not part of the record, not part of the staff report, not brought into any aspect of the public hearing, so that the applicant and appellant here could actually look at the information and the documentation, so that we'd have an opportunity to take a look and see what's there, just like everybody else has had. Staff report, all of the records that were there, it's all made part of the public record, except that. And that came in only after the public hearing was closed. It came in, and apparently the research was done prior to coming in tonight, and so it's put us at a complete disadvantage by doing that. So that's an objection. It's an unfair hearing with respect to that. Also, thank you. And also, with respect to hours, as I indicated while the mayor was speaking, and I apologize for that, but I'll indicate it now that the public hearing is open again, that Cronies is willing to reduce its hours to a point where it would be acceptable to this council in a reasonable state. And what I'm hearing is 10 o'clock or 10:30, and Cronies is willing to do that. And we'd ask the city council to respectfully consider a reduction in hours, and any other concerns that the council has, Cronies is willing to address and meet those concerns in a way that we think would be acceptable to the council. And we'd like the opportunity to do that. The issues that Councilmember Klein-Lopez brought up in terms of the police calls for service, I suspect, although I don't know because we've not been provided that information or seen the documentation on it, but I suspect it has to do with people expressing their First Amendment rights and during a time of COVID, and it was likely all during that one time. And as we've indicated, that is just simply not relevant to today's proceeding, and that should be excluded. Any aspect of that should be excluded. So if there's additional information, we'd like the ability to counter that information and to look at it, just like we have for everybody else, for everything else, and the council's been able to consider all of this evidence. We didn't have an opportunity to look at that evidence. Sheriff's Department didn't come in and provide it. Sheriff's Department instead said there were no problems. Law enforcement came in and said there were no problems. Asking for calls for service without giving any kind of notice or having law enforcement come in is inappropriate. We object to it, and it leads to an unfair hearing. And so we respectfully request that that not be considered for the record, and we do have that objection. And we will be happy, Cronies will be happy, to work with the city on these hours if that's truly a concern. There's no increase in traffic that's been shown. There's no increase in noise that's been shown. All of what's been referenced by the council so far with respect to that is conjecture and speculation. The facts before you indicate differently. The facts before you show that there's no increased traffic, there's no increased noise. Cumin that's next door, there's no door to Cronies on that side of the building. The only door to Cronies is facing the parking lot. Cumin itself wrote a letter in support of Cronies saying they don't have a concern with this noise. So to the extent that any of this has anything to do with the exercise of First Amendment rights at a previous time, it's irrelevant. And I would venture a guess that the calls for service that's been referenced there has to do with that. All of that being said, one thing that's clear, Cronies is a good community citizen. It gives back. You've heard from a lot of people that have testified to that. So allow them the opportunity to meet your concerns about hours. Let us know what that is. They'll either agree to it or they won't. That's a good compromise to get this done. The only issue before you is the difference between a 47 and a 41, a little bit of distilled spirits. Everything else you're talking about is beer and wine. If there's a real concern about hours, right now, when we walk out of here, if this is not passed, we walk out of here, they continue to have those hours that the council indicates it's concerned with. If that's really a concern, wouldn't the council like the opportunity to make a change? And Cronies is willing to address those concerns. So thank you for giving me that extra time, and I appreciate it.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you want a continuance so that you would have an opportunity to review and rebut the report that Councilmember Klein-Lopez was referring to?
If I may just have a moment. Yes, the applicant would like to have a continuance and have access to and be provided to exactly the information Councilmember Klein-Lopez had tonight. Not other information, not additional information, that information that those findings were referenced on. So we would like that. We'd also like to take the opportunity, if granted, for the additional time, to try and meet with individual members of the council. And if there's a real concern about hours, either to open in the morning or at the end of the day, this community member, I would respectfully suggest to you, deserves that opportunity. Deserves that opportunity. Your community would like to see that. I think it's clear based on the people that came before you. So we would like that opportunity too. And if there's any other concerns, see if we can meet that as opposed to being what feels like punitive with respect to Cronies. So give us the opportunity to try and meet those concerns.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, before you close the public comment, I would like to
Oh,
comment.
yes, Councilmember Klein-Lopez.
I did ask our city manager if I was able to share this. This is, we as a city receive information from the sheriffs that we, in a way that we are not able to share it. And so I was told that you are, like anyone, able to look up. I'm sorry. Are we losing the respectful tone of the meeting? Because that would make me very sad. Police reports are public record. Anyone can go and get them. So you're welcome to do that. You're welcome to have done that. And also, if you want me to withdraw it, I will withdraw it. I can still, if you'd like me to withdraw it, I'm happy to, and revise the findings that I am not able to make, which still have to do with some of the buffers and the hours and things like that.
I think, unfortunately, with all respect, I think that the council member's been tainted with respect to what that decision is.
Okay.
No, if I may, if I may, I'm being
Okay.
respectful.
Oh, and by the way, I also wanted to add that was not just 2020. The report went through 2023, and as I mentioned, I did just pull out the things that had to do with alcohol and related things to intoxication.
With respect,
what I'm hearing is that if no council member is relying on that report to make findings or to not make findings, then we can move forward tonight.
I disagree with that, Madam Mayor. I disagree with that. I think that the fact that these comments were made based on information that was never provided in the public record and provided to the rest of the council members for their consideration in making these decisions, I think it's tainted. I think that's a problem. So no, I do not believe that just by withdrawing it, it fixes the problem. I think that it actually exacerbates the problem. The council has heard the council members' comments about what she had and what she had only. And that's not fair, it's not right, and it's something that's improper. And you can't unring the bell. You just can't. All it's doing right now is what I'm hearing is we'll find a different way to deny it. And that's not proper. We'd like to work with the city.
That's not what I said.
I understand that is what I'm saying because that is what I believe to be the correct legal standard.
Just like the planning
Okay,
commission.
hang on a second.
I don't want to get in an argument.
Yeah,
I
we're
really
not
don't.
going to go and have a back and forth right now. So why don't you wrap up what you want to say? Are you saying you do want to have a continuance of this hearing so that you can have two things? One, that you can look at what Councilmember Klein Lopez looked at when she deliberated and talked about certain calls, service calls that went out to the sheriff, and maybe the sheriff will come in, or secondly, to discuss whether or not your client would be willing to reduce hours
If I may
of operation.
If I may have a moment.
Okay. If you're not ready, if you want a short recess, we can do that.
Sure, let's have a short recess.
Okay, great. And for the record, the council, since we're already in deliberations, we will not all leave together. And, you can meet out in the lobby, or we can't even hear you, but that's your call. But why don't we give you, and we'll take turns using the restroom or whatever. And it's about almost 8:30, so why don't we come back in 10 minutes?
I appreciate that. Before that decision's made, let me just indicate for the record and what we'll do is we can deal with the hours issue right now. We can offer to meet those hours, do 10:30 and 11:30. 10:30 during the week, 11:30 on the Friday and Saturday night, if that's satisfactory to the council. If that's truly a concern and that works based on what's been said, then we're willing to do that and make that agreement right now.
Well, I can only speak for myself, but that's not the hours that I would be looking for. I would be looking for, and I'm not sure, I have to think it through, but, 8, I think on your website it says you're open from 8 to 10, 8 a.m. to 10, and that those would be the hours.
So if those were the hours that were acceptable, that would be something that the mayor, at least in her position, would find acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Well, I still am troubled with some of the other findings, so I have to look at the whole package. I brought it up, 2 hours ago, and Mr. Folds wasn't able to come and answer the questions, and you did the best you could. And so, I just need to think it through after I heard the rest of the evidence, where I'm going, from that. I need to make sure I can make all the findings other than just the times. But the time is a big one for me, to have a Type 47 license and being open and serving that kind of alcohol from 8 in the morning till 11 or 11:30 at night during the week and 12:30 on the weekend is a problem. I think I can't make the findings with that.
Understood the comments. 10 minutes?
10 minutes? Sounds great. Thank you.
Might I suggest that the council members leave the dais one at a time, and we'll leave. Yes, thank you.
Hello again. The public hearing is still open. And where are we at? You've had an opportunity to confer with your client?
The council. Regard hours, the time, Cronies is willing to agree to the hours that the mayor has suggested would be acceptable to the mayor. What we're looking at, I think you said 8 to 10.
Correct.
And what we're looking at...
Which is what's on your website. Actually, your website says 7 a.m., but I'm sure that's an inadvertent mistake, so it must be 8 to 10.
So
Saturday and Sunday, 7 to 10. But that's okay.
Well, in any case, the Cronies is willing to agree to 8 to 10. That should hopefully satisfy the remaining members of the council as well with respect to any issue that anyone might have with noise or traffic or schools or anything like that. And there is a demand for that during that time period. Not much in the morning, certainly, and at night, these are the hours that they're doing anyway. And so they're happy to do that if we can get this done tonight. Obviously, there's a lot of effort, money, and time that's put into this, and we'd like to see it get approved. And certainly, Cronies is willing to agree to those hours if we can be done with this tonight with a favorable ruling.
Okay, so let me turn to Councilmember Klein Lopez. Does the change of time that it would be 8 to 10, 7 days a week, change your? Do you have any thoughts on that?
For the municipal code sections that I read is really, as you mentioned, the 41 to 47, even taking out the high crime disproportionate number, if we decided to do that, I would still not be able to make the findings on the first 6, which was compatible with surrounding properties, noise louder than ambient level, increased vehicular pedestrian traffic, detrimental to public health and safety or welfare, harmful secondary nuisances, school or similar use, buffered by topographical conditions, and beverage sales restricted to be compatible with quiet enjoyment of the neighborhood. And I can always withdraw my, for now, or we can discuss it if we continue it, the disproportionate number of police calls. I still would not be able to make those first findings because my concern is with the 41 to 47, which you, I think, very concisely explained in when you referred back to the Planning Commission of 2014.
That's correct. I can make the findings with the change of the hours from 8 to 10, 7 days a week, because my biggest concern, everything stemmed from the late night hours, and if Cronies really isn't going to stay open past 10 o'clock, I'm more comfortable and can make those findings. So with that, why don't we take a roll call vote with a motion and a second with the, that we would be, just hang on here 1 second. Let me get here, hold on. I'm way ahead of myself. Okay, here we are back here. That we would approve the project with that all the old conditions of approval will apply, and the only change in the conditions of approval would be that the hours would now be 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week, and we would instruct staff to come back with a resolution of approval with those new hours. And that would be the motion, correct? Oh, I need, that's correct. Thank you, City Manager. I need to close the public hearing. Thank you. And so let's, I guess we'll take a motion, if somebody wants to make a motion and a second, and we'll go from there.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester makes the motion to approve the upgrade to the permit 47 with the condition that the hours are now changed from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Yes, did I miss something?
And if I could suggest that you would direct staff to bring back a resolution so reflecting at the August 14th, 2024 meeting, which is our next council meeting.
Thank you. So moved as our council just advised us to add. Thank you.
This is Councilmember Wolf, and I will second that.
Thank you. And now we'll take a roll call vote.
Councilmember Klein Lopez?
No.
Councilmember Wolf?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester?
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber?
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber, you have approval 3-1.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. I know you're all very excited, but we still have more business to do. So you're welcome to sit and listen. Otherwise, I would ask that you quietly leave the chambers. And thank you again for coming tonight. Thank you. Okay, if I can ask you all, you're welcome to hug quietly or hug outside. Thank you, Louis. What's that? Oh, yeah. And Councilmember Anstead, you're welcome to come back in. Okay. Okay, we're just waiting for Councilmember Anstead. Welcome back, Councilmember Anstead, and thank you for your patience. Our next item is a discussion to consider the approval of the Fourth Amendment to the City Manager's Employment Agreement and the City Manager's Performance Bonus. I'll now defer to Assistant City Manager Adeva for the staff presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. This item tonight is a recommendation to approve the Fourth Amendment to the City Manager's Employment Agreement and the City Manager's Performance Bonus. Specifically, the recommendation is that the City Manager's Employment Agreement be amended to include a 6% increase in pay, which would set the City Manager's base salary to $289,591.47 annually. Additionally, based on the City Manager's continued exceptional performance, a performance bonus of $12,000 is being recommended for approval. That concludes staff's report at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adeva. Before we move on to public comment, does any council member have any questions of staff? Okay. I will now defer to the city clerk.
Thank you. We have no written public comments or any speaker cards.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to deliberations. And I'm going to start just because I want to let everybody know that the Mayor Pro Tem and I, we appreciate your trust and confidence. And we did try and come up with some very creative alternatives of compensation. And we're not sure that any of them were appropriate or legal or whatever you want to say. And so that will all be on the table for all of you next year. So, and the next year's mayor can raise those and work with council to make sure that, you know, everything is, you know, is what you'd want it to be. So with that, Mayor Pro Tem, do you have anything to add to the?
No, I just second what you said, and just that we appreciate everything that our city manager does.
Great. Thank you. Councilmember Wolf.
I appreciate the work that the mayor and the mayor pro tem put into this. I think it's well deserved. I think this is a great run city and organization. The role of a city manager is complex because you're dealing with a staff, you're dealing with the council, and you're dealing with the community. And I think Nate does an awesome job. Help me out.
Exemplary.
Exemplary. Thank you. An exemplary job, and I'm very happy to support this. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Councilmember Klein Lopez.
I just want to say that I can't believe that all the people and all the applause was not for you, Nate. Because I expected that kind of eruption and just excitement about the fact that we've come for another agreement for you to stay with us and lead us and guide us. That's how I feel about you, and your engagement with us and our residents and our staff and our council. So nothing more to add other than, many, many thanks and applause. And all right.
Thank you,
Look,
Councilmember
the staff
Lopez.
is doing it. The staff is doing it. I don't know if they can
I
see it
love
on
that.
the camera.
Councilmember Anstead.
Sure. I'm not sure what Glad Hands is right now because I wasn't here. But
We had a packed room, so.
no problem. No, we're good. But I do want to say something about the city manager. I think the city manager has done a great job, not just this year, but the entire time he's been in the position, and even before that when he was assistant city manager. And have full faith and confidence in the city manager's done a fantastic job. Always, I give him a call quite a bit on the spur of the moment. He's always willing to take my call, always willing to answer questions, always has answers, or if he doesn't have the answer right on the tip of his finger, he finds a way to tell me which person in the city can help me find the answer to the question. So I couldn't be more satisfied and happy with the performance of the city manager, and I think that he definitely deserves what we're paying him. And I think that also the bonus that he earned this year, I think is also something that I want to comment on, and I think that it's well earned and deserved as well for how well the city's been running. And there's a lot of other issues that other cities in our area have, and we have not had the same issues. And I think that's due to the city manager. And just think that also one of the things that I have loved about the city manager is that he has also gotten out there and met the people in our city, interacted very well with the residents in the city. And I think the more he is out there, the more I hear from other residents that they recognize the competency of our city manager. So I think all those reasons are for why he deserves the salary that he's getting paid and that we're approving here tonight. So I'm ready to move forward.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem.
I think I've already said it.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So I'm sorry that nobody stuck around because I was going to tell this room full of people that you're the best city manager in the region and that you deserve everything that you get. And I just wanted to add that the bonus, it might not have sounded like one of these years. It wasn't COVID and it wasn't the Woolsey fire, but you got money, both grants on the state level and the federal level for the master bike plan, for the backup battery, the solar. You've done a lot in that area, which is just so appreciated. You and Mr. Adevo won an award for the state of the city. You also completed the Agoura Hills Calabasas Community Center negotiation and deal, which is really, I think it's good for Calabasas and it's good for Agoura Hills. And you've got the Lady Face Greenway project well underway. So there's so much more, but I just wanted to say, and we had a drone show, so. Those are just a few of the great things that you've done this year. Amy just threw me a look, so. But, so it's all really good. You've been just an incredible asset to the city, and I just couldn't be more pleased. And, clearly you came on in 2020 and had to deal with some tough residents and some tough restaurants, and and here we are. So it's really, thank you for all that you've done, and thank you for continuing to want to work here and agreeing to being our city manager. So thank you. And with that, I will take a motion and a second. Did I close the public hearing? Or public comment? We didn't have any. We're good. Okay. We'll now move on to a motion and a second to approve the Fourth Amendment to the City Manager's Employment Agreement and the City Manager's Performance Bonuses.
Deborah Klein Lopez, so moved.
Chris City Councilman Chris Anstead seconds.
Thank you, and I will defer to the city clerk for a roll call vote.
Councilmember Anstead?
Aye.
Councilmember Klein Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester?
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber?
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber, you have approval 5-0.
Thank you very much. And I will now move on to council and staff comments. Are there any comments from staff? Amy, don't you have something to say?
Well, thank you, Mayor Buckley Weber. I could say, please join us. Congratulations, Nate. We're all very happy. I will say, yes, to the public and the community, don't forget that we have our summer art show tomorrow night up at the Agoura Hills Recreation and Event Center. It starts at 5 o'clock and goes till 7. We have 4 amazing artists that will be on display, and there will be live entertainment with an art demonstration as well. And we've got food, and it's all free. So we hope you'll come out.
That sounds wonderful. No other staff comments? Okay, how about council members? Councilmember Wolf.
Sure, I'll start off. I want to thank the extra staff here tonight protecting us and law enforcement for being here. I want to comment on the drone show. I think that's what everyone wants to talk about. I took a very, very scientific poll, and I had a total of 113 people respond if they like drone shows or fireworks, and 53% went with drones. And so I thought that was exciting, and I thought it was it was great, and I'm excited to watch it expand. Being there were so many community members were out, and I think you guys did a fantastic job, so congratulations. And thank you I think the city did a good job on pushing out the messaging on the cooling centers. Extreme heat is this new, disaster. And it's real, and we're living it, and so the city is having to deal with it. So I think we're doing a good job for meeting the moment with that. So I appreciate that we've opened up cooling centers, and we're advertising that. And that concludes my comments.
Councilmember Klein Lopez.
Just want to jump on the drone bandwagon there. It was so great to see Chumash Park filled to the brim with people. I don't think we've had a crowd like that in a while, so it was super fun. And I walked around for the whole event, and people were coming as far as Simi and the San Fernando Valley, and just tons of our residents, and the vibe was great. I've heard nothing but great feedback, and the biggest complaint is that they just want more. They want more drones, longer drones. So I know that that's something that we'll have to talk about as a council, but it's a good way to leave the community. And I want to thank you for all the marketing and messaging that was pushed out, because it really was unique for our town, and I love to be the first to do things like that. So just want to thank the council for setting aside funds for that. I think it was really visionary of us, and to, of course, the staff for rolling it out. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Anstead.
I have no comments.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester.
Well, I don't mean to drone on, but sorry, I couldn't resist that one. But I will be honest, because when you first raised it, I was a little anxious, because I thought, with the increase in cost. But having seen it, it was the best idea you've come up with. So thank you so much. And I agree with everybody else. We just need to go bigger next time. So thank you. And also, I'd like to thank your support staff for taking care of the council so well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so I just have one comment. So as you know, that while I've been mayor, we've been acknowledging National Heritage Months. And I had Googled what was happening in July, and I came up with 2 Heritage Months. And as I was writing something up, I discovered that Muslim American Month and Disability Pride Month, which are both in July, are not National Heritage Months. So that's why I did not observe them at the beginning of the meeting, and whatever the council wants to do in the future is up to them. But my fear is since we had been doing National Heritage Months, which there are not a lot of, but there's got to be 1,000 heritage months that are acknowledged by some cities and by some states. And so if you hear, I know the library is doing Muslim American Month and recognizing, and they deserve to be recognized for their contribution to our city and our state. But that's why we decided not to go that route. However, with that said, I do want to share with you that July 26 marks the 34th anniversary of the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act, which was landmark legislation intended to break down barriers to inclusion in society. People with disability deserve to live full, self-determined lives just like the rest of us. In my research, I read that discrimination still persists for 1 in 4 U.S. adults living with a disability. As a community, we continue to be sensitive and mindful of the dreams and goals of people with disabilities, and the City of Agoura Hills empowers them by supporting the ADA and making sure that all of our decision-making includes their needs. So with that, the regular meeting of the City Council for July 4th, 2024 has been canceled. The next regular City Council meeting is scheduled for 6 p.m. on Wednesday, August 14th, 2024 in the Council Chambers of the Civic Center located at 3001 Ladyface Court, Agoura Hills, California. This meeting is now adjourned, and everybody have a good month.